And we're live. Howdy, everybody. Hope everybody's having a good day. Just finished my last video and immediately saw live. That wasn't planned, but I'm glad it worked out that way. All right, so we are not doing Flat Earthers today, because the Flat Earthers, they've stopped showing up. All they do is they're like debate angels of light, debate angels of light, debate angels of light, and then they don't come up and actually have a conversation with me. But I've said it again, or I've said it once and I'll say it again. I will debate angels of light once he demonstrates that he understands what relative motion is. Flat Earthers, they're kind of a thing, but they very much hide. They're currently in hiding right now. All right, let's bring on Wiz. We have our first guest for the day. Wiz, how's it going?
When you say creationism, you think that goes against the Bible? No, I mean, you believe that the Big Bang refused the Bible? You believe in that?
No, I don't. I just don't think that anybody was involved in the Big Bang.
So you don't believe that anybody was created?
I don't think that anybody was involved in the Big Bang. I don't think that a person made the Big Bang. I don't think that a person made the Earth. Does that help?
So you don't believe in God, basically?
I do not believe in God, no.
Then how did the Big Bang come to exist?
It's a great question. I can give you 25 different possible answers, none of which involve God, and I'm not sure which one is right.
Well, which one? Give me one option.
Okay, let me open up the book.
Sure.
The book is called Battle of the Big Bang. In the back of the book, those are acknowledgements. So this chapter. There's a lovely table. Here it is. Pick and choose whichever one you want. These are.
I mean,
on
really
this page.
see, I'm sorry.
Okay, I'll just point to one randomly. De Sitter equilibrium. So de Sitter equilibrium includes inflation. So in a if de Sitter equilibrium is correct, then that means that the Big Bang came from inflation.
So how can inflation come though? Because as we know, the Big Bang created time, space, and matter. Okay, so before the universe,
No, that's not what the Big Bang is.
That's
Also,
the beginning of time.
You have some serious, like, are you outside? Because there's a lot of, wind.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so the Big Bang is not about the beginning of time, space, and matter. The Big Bang is about the rapid expansion of our universe from a very hot, very dense state 13.8 billion years ago.
Okay, but when you say dense states, that includes atoms, particles.
No,
When you say
the atoms wouldn't have existed yet. Atoms took about 380,000 years to exist.
okay, so what does become dense exactly?
These would be like basically particles, subatomic particles.
Exactly. So we can substitute a word for atom with particles, and that still just moves the goalpost one post further. If
Yeah,
you know what I mean.
so the idea is that
So
the
we can ask
subatomic particles
the
didn't
particles.
exist. They didn't exist during the inflationary period, and as a result of inflation, they began to exist.
Okay, then how did they come to exist by themselves exactly?
It wasn't by themselves. It was from the inflation, or from the
Okay, so
from the
where does
inflationary
inflation
period.
come from?
So in the model, and I'll open it up again so that we can see it. So in the model, we have something called a de Sitter universe, or de Sitter equilibrium for the universe, that is always rapidly expanding, far more rapidly than the Big Bang was. And as a result of quantum fluctuations in that rapid expansion, you get the cause of the rapid expansion suddenly decaying and dumping energy into a localized region, causing a Big Bang.
Okay, but you're still moving the goalpost one post further. Okay, there must be a first cause. Yes,
Why?
there must be an unmoved.
Why?
Because logic requires so. Do you not believe in cause and effect?
Because the what? Because the what requires so?
Logic requires to be.
What's the
first
argument
cause.
for that?
What's the argument for that? Aristotle logic, exactly.
Okay, so you just described a kind of logic. I actually want to know what is the argument, not just,
Okay,
kind of logic that
so
you're
we
implying
believe that
works.
every effect. Okay, okay. So we believe every effect has a cause, correct?
Sure. I mean, it's not really a
Okay.
scientific statement, but sure, we can grant it for the sake of argument.
No, because we don't need empirical evidence in this argument. We just need deductive logic.
Well, you can't deductively show that every cause has an effect, or sorry, every effect has a cause. That's not something that you could deductively show with logic.
So can an effect cause itself?
But well, so if it caused itself, then it would have a cause. So no, it could just be that there are things that happen without causes. That's going to be you're going to have a hard time showing that deductively. Now, for the most part, I'm going to say that that's reasonable. There's some interpretations of quantum mechanics that likely don't have, or that anyway possibly don't have some sort of causal explanation, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, sure. Even if I concede to your point exactly that there must be some causes, some effects that are not cause, we still have to respect the principle of sufficient reason by Leibniz. Do you know what that is?
No, I do know what it is, and no, we don't. It's not
Why
really
do we not?
because we don't really have a good reason to think it's true. It's just a vibe.
No, the principle of sufficient reason is not a vibe. How can you say
Okay,
that?
so why should I respect it?
To respect it because it shows that everything has a reason to why it happens, and I'm explaining to you why. So if something happened without a cause, which is what
That's not what the
naturalism,
PSR is, by the way. The PSR is not about cause and effect. It's about explanation. It's about reason.
and I'm explaining to you why that connection is important. Exactly. Okay.
Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So if everything happened without a reason, then we couldn't affirm that the laws of logic as we know it today are the actual laws of logic. Okay.
To be
that
clear,
they
the principle of
cannot be-
sufficient, the negation of the principle of sufficient reason is not that nothing has a reason. It's that there's at least one thing that doesn't have a reason.
Yeah,
Nobody's
sure.
claiming
But
that
we still
nothing
have
has
to
a
grant-
reason. If you reject
We
the
still have to
PSR,
grant
all you're saying is that not
cause.
everything has a reason.
I'm saying that some things may happen without a reason, but ultimately, when we go back to the infinite regress, there must be something that has a reason to why everything happened.
Why?
Because otherwise, we can now grant that the laws of logic would exist.
How does that
They
follow?
could just
How does it
that
go
follows
from?
because-
How do you go from not everything has an explanation to therefore the laws of logic don't exist?
I'm not saying that they don't exist, but
I'm
if
pretty sure that's what you
we
just
grant-
said.
No. If you grant my premise, okay, that everything has a reason to why it exists, because following the chain of cause and effect, and the first cause having a reason to why it exists. If you don't believe in the PSR, then that means that the laws of logic could change from one day to another.
It doesn't mean that at all. The PSR doesn't mean that it doesn't mean that anything can happen for no reason. The PSR just means that at least one thing. It means that at least one thing can happen or has happened or is the case, and it doesn't have sufficient reason. But it doesn't mean that the laws of logic go out the window.
It technically does, yes.
It technically doesn't.
Then why?
What?
Why doesn't
Because
throw out
the
laws
principle
again?
of sufficient reason, if you reject the principle of sufficient reason, that doesn't mean that some things have sufficient reason. It just means that not everything has sufficient reason. So I could say that the laws of logic have perfectly good sufficient reason, but that other things don't. And that would mean that you have good reason, you have reason to trust the laws of logic, for example.
Okay, so even if I trust the laws of logic, without PSR, I can't affirm that the laws of logic will remain stable and unchanged throughout eternity.
Sure you can,
Why?
because those things could have sufficient reason.
Okay, but just saying
Also,
that,
to be clear, the laws of logic are not things that exist unless you think that the PSR itself has sufficient reason. The laws of logic perhaps are better viewed as like the way that we do inference, and the PSR is a principle. So if you want to hold to the PSR as somehow enforcing laws of logic, then you need to hold to the PSR as somehow enforcing itself. And I beg you, please provide me with some sort of reason for why the PSR is true. What is the sufficient reason for the PSR holding?
what is the principle of the principle itself, you tell me?
Oh wait, so you take a thing
You
can
want
provide
to
reason
back the
for
question
itself.
and into a circular reasoning.
Do you take it that a thing can provide sufficient reason for itself?
What do you mean by that exactly?
So can a thing be its own sufficient reason?
No, I don't believe so.
Okay, what is the sufficient reason for the PSR then?
Well, these are two different concepts. I'll explain to you why. There is a difference between
won't answer.
an abstract. Yeah, no, I'm answering to you. Okay, so for an abstract concept, it doesn't have to follow itself. Okay, because it sets the rule. While we have concrete objects, they have to follow the concepts.
Wait a minute. Are the laws of logic concrete objects?
No, they're not.
Okay, so then why do they have to follow the laws of logic? Why do they have to follow a principle of sufficient reason? They're not concrete objects.
First of all,
by the way, to be clear, this is a category error. It's just not the case that like objects follow the PSR or that objects follow logic. The PSR is about propositions. The laws of logic are about propositions. These are not about objects.
Well, how can you say that these are not objects when we use themselves to prove that the happenings in the universe have sufficient reasons?
Can you hold the PSR? Can you observe the PSR?
No, but you can't.
Does PSR have causal power? Yeah, math's not concrete objects either.
But without transcendence conditions, we just can't experience everything.
Defend that. Why should I think that any of that's true?
That's just how it follows. You can search it up, but
you can just say just how it follows, and I could just say the exact same about the opposite, right? It doesn't get us anywhere.
Okay, but the difference is you can just look it up right now.
So
I want to see.
This conversation started like 6 minutes ago or something like that, because I was asking you to explain how it is the case that there must be a first cause, that every effect must have a cause. So there must be a cause for the existence of everything. Because infinite regress is illogical. And you haven't provided an actual argument. You kind of just said the PSR, and I told you why the PSR at least shouldn't be accepted brainlessly. But you haven't actually provided an argument why we need to have some sort of cause for the entire physical universe.
Because if you don't grant that there is a first cause, you're falling into infinite regress, which is illogical.
Sure. What's the issue with infinite regress?
Because if you grant infinite regress, that means that was infinite time, and that to cross those infinite days, we have reached today, but we cannot cross that infinity.
We would have reached today from when?
Okay, so you're saying there's an infinite regress, okay? So
at least in the one thing that, so, I pulled up just the de Sitter equilibrium page, and I just picked a random one, and that one does indeed have an infinite regress. But I don't see why that's a problem.
Because you can prove that abstractly we have infinite sets of integers, and so what?
Yeah, prove that it's a problem to have an infinite regress to the past.
Well, I just told you why, but let me re-explain that why.
Yeah, please.
An infinite regress is impossible because we can never go back to the original cause. There is no.
An infinite regress doesn't have an original cause, so. How does that make
that's the problem.
What you're saying is that an infinite regress is impossible because it's an infinite regress. That's just the claim again. It's not actually an argument.
Because I explained to you my claim before, okay?
Okay, please actually defend the claim. Why is it illogical?
Okay.
Hold on. Give me 1 sec, okay? I'm just going to write this down so that we can keep track of everything. Okay, so an infinite regress is illogical. So an infinite regress is illogical. Why? Give me the reasons.
Because you will have to cross infinite days to reach today.
You will have to cross infinite days to reach today. From when?
From what? From
when?
The infinite regress, obviously.
The infinite regress is not a day.
Then time is infinite. The past is infinite.
Yeah.
You cannot reach the present.
So is there any day in the past that has an infinite amount of time between now and then?
No.
Okay, so then if you pick any day in the past, you can get to today in a finite amount of time.
Well,
even if there's an infinite amount of days, you could get to today from any one of them.
No, you cannot.
Sure you can. Which day could you not get to today from?
Well, we're talking about from the infinite regress from the.
The infinite regress isn't a day. It's like a concept. It's not a day.
I do realize that, but
Okay,
you have to realize that quantum
let's say
physics says the time doesn't exist.
No, that's not what quantum physics says. And we could laugh at you about that in a minute. But look, so let's say that today is day 0. Yesterday is day -1. The day before that is day -2. So let's say that there are an infinite number of days going to the past, right? There's for every negative number, there's a day. So which day can you not get to today from?
From which day I cannot get to today?
Yeah, which day from which day would it take an infinite amount of time to get to today?
Okay, I concede to your point, okay? But we also have to recognize that with an infinite regress, we simply cannot reach. Okay, so I'll put it in an analogy, okay, for you. A gives to B an apple, and B gives it to C, and so on. We cannot reach with an infinite regress the person that originally gave the apple.
Okay. What's the issue? There is no original apple giver if the past is infinite.
Okay, but then how did the apple reaches?
It's been traveling for the eternal past, from person to person.
Okay, can you prove that though?
What do you mean prove it? That's just an implication of an eternal past. If every day a person before was giving an apple, then every day before that had a different person giving the apple to the next person. Like there's nothing to prove. It's just the definition of the infinite regress and the example that you gave. When you're off the app, by the way, I can't hear you. Oh, he left. Okay. Well, that was a spicy start. I'm going to read a super chat and then we'll bring up our next guest. We have $2 from Brian Peck. Have you seen Nathan Oakley's book? No, and I'm surprised that he can write a book. And from Matt Lloyd with the £10. Thank you so much, Matt. It's donations like this that help me keep going. Hi, Dr. Blitz. Hope you're doing well. Just showing my appreciation. I'm a big fan of what you do. I've started reading more about physics. I've started with Sean Carroll, enjoying it a lot. Take care, dude. Well, yeah, Sean Carroll's a great author, and I really appreciate the support, and I appreciate that you enjoy my stuff. And one more from Jackson Allerhead with the 7 Canuck bucks. Is the infinite regress argument a newer one from creationists? I feel like it's getting more common. No, it's actually quite old. And from Binary Ghost with the $5. I actually didn't say that quantum physics. Yeah, right? Quantum physics doesn't say that time doesn't exist. Like, it's speculated, but anyway. Let's talk to Stoner Ethos, or Stone Lithos, I'm sorry.
What's up,
Stone
Blitz?
Lithos, how's it going?
It's going good. How are you?
I'm doing all right. Stone, do you believe in a creationist world?
I do.
All right. Why should I?
I guess I could address maybe the previous topic on infinite regression.
Sure.
So it would be the case that you would be caught in infinite regress because the infinite day will not let you get to today.
What do you mean the infinite day? I don't know what that means.
The infinite amount of days. It could be a day. It could be the case, a possibility in infinite regress that there is an infinite day.
No, infinite's not a number.
It's a possibility.
I don't know what you mean by it's a possibility. It's not a number.
It's not a real number. It's just
not a number at all.
It's a formal term.
It's a concept.
It's a formal concept.
Sure. You could take a limit of the, like, for example, if you wanted to, you could evaluate evaluate the Heaviside function where, or you could evaluate the Boolean function in the limit where the day goes to the days go into the past at, infinitely back, where the Boolean function evaluates whether or not there's a finite amount of time between today and that day in the past, or an infinite amount of time. And what you would find is that in the limit, that Boolean function would always output that there is a finite amount of time, even if the number of days in the past becomes infinite.
So your claim is there's a finite amount of time?
No.
Time is finite?
No. What I'm saying is that between any pair of days, there's always a finite amount of time, even if there's an infinite number of days.
That's what I would probably contend with.
There's nothing to contend with. Pick any 2 days. Find me any 2 days that have an infinite amount of days between them. Given an infinite regress. Like, just find me an example and I'll believe you.
Okay, I guess I was addressing, maybe the question you kind of asked the last guest was, how do we get to today?
Yeah, we can get to today from any day in the past, even if there's an infinite number of days in the past.
Really?
Pick a day. So for the sake of argument, assume that there's an infinite number of days in the past. Now pick any one of those days and ask how long does it take to get to today. What you'll find is that it'll take a finite amount of time to get to today from any of the past infinite days.
That isn't true.
Okay, then find me one that will take an infinite amount of days to get to today from.
If it is, there would be no start.
Yeah, that's what an infinite regress implies.
There would be no start to an actual day, so we would never know.
There would be no first day. That's true.
It's illogical.
What's the problem?
Because time is just relevant to day and night. It's relative to day and night.
I don't think that's true. Do you think that time didn't exist before the Earth existed?
No,
Because
but
there would have been no day and night before Earth existed, but time obviously existed. If time exists at all, it definitely existed before Earth.
no, but that's saying that time has some kind of ontological identity.
Well, it kind of does, and we can show this
Really?
using general relativity.
Yeah, that's what I would be in a disagreement about is
You
how-
disagree with
how-
general relativity?
Well, I disagree as a whole, time having ontology.
Okay, well then you're fighting up against 100 years of empirically confirmed physics.
Well, I mean, I'll fight that fight.
Okay,
That's
then you'll lose. Like, the empirical data supports that GR is, if not true, it's as close to true as we have. And one of the implications of GR is that there are indeed 4 space-time dimensions, one of which is time.
Oh yeah, that's kind of what is underdetermined, I guess.
What's underdetermined?
The fact that time is a 4th dimension.
That's not really in question. We have all of the evidence in the world to, not prove is probably not the right word, to support that.
How is a rate of change an identity?
Time is
Let's
not
start there.
time. So a dimension is not an identity, and time is not a rate of change.
Okay. Yeah, we just disagree on what time is. This
is not an agree to disagree kind of thing. This is not an opinion. It's not. Well, right, but it's not a. This is not an opinion question. The point is that if you take space to be a thing that exists, then time exists in the same way. Oh, you don't?
Yeah, I think
Okay.
of.
So what are gravitational waves?
Oh, that's a loaded question.
Not really a loaded question.
It is. Gravitational waves are actually underdetermined as well. They're not proven.
I mean, we detected them directly using LIGO in 2015.
Oh, okay.
So they exist. Yeah.
I guess I didn't come to that same interpretation that you did. I guess I don't know how it objectively proves gravitational waves.
Because you measure them directly. In the same way that, like, if you see a star, if you measure if you take an image of a star with a telescope, you prove that the you prove that the light exists, or that's evidence that the light exists that gets to your telescope.
Oh, so you've proven that the light is material?
I didn't say anything about the word material. I just said that the light exists. Light obviously exists. If you think that light doesn't exist, I don't know how we're having this conversation.
Well, light sort of propagates. Light does exist, but it's immaterial.
I never said anything about material. I never said anything about material.
Physical.
I mean, it's obviously physical. It's obviously physical, but that's neither here nor there. The point is you agree that light exists and that it propagates. In the same way, we measure that gravitational waves exist and they propagate.
Yeah, it's a language thing we disagree on terms. We just can't define terms, that's all.
This sounds like a language issue for you then, maybe?
It's
Because like
we're not able
these are
to
like
define
very well
gravity.
these, like I can define anything you want me for. This is all very standard stuff.
So let's entertain the fact that, you know, outer space is real. So
Oh,
light,
you're a flat earther. Okay, that makes sense.
well, science says that the Earth is not in motion, nor is it a globe. Like, we can't observe the Earth to have curvature on a tangent. But that, I guess that's neither here nor there.
It's kind of, yeah, I mean, it's kind of here and there, because like your entire basis for attacking the Big Bang is that you think the Earth is flat.
Well, the double slit experiment would raise the probability and the likelihood of the Earth not being a sphere, not having sphericity.
Oh, okay, yeah. Please elaborate on that.
I just want to know how it formed as a globe. Earth is
Gravity.
like,
It's gravity. Gravity formed it as a globe.
but gravity is so weak. How does
Yeah,
it
and
form things?
yeah, because there's a lot of mass. So
But
even though it's
gravity is
weak
the
overall,
weakest-
even though it's
the
weak
weakest
overall,
fundamental force.
well, I'm actually making a video. It's not quite that easy to make that claim, but even if that were the case, if you have enough of something, the strength of the quantity overcomes the weakness of the quality.
Oh, so it's so big that gravity just formed it. The Earth's so big.
Yes,
that
literally.
gravity-
Yeah, the Earth is really big.
Oh, okay. That's so illogical.
What's
Well,
illogical
I
about
guess
it?
it should be the other way around.
Sorry, what's illogical about
Force
it?
should be so strong that it molds. But I don't know. I guess the
I
law.
grant that you don't know.
No, I'm not incredulous, and it's not.
Oh, you're
convoluted.
not incredulous, really?
It's not too convoluted. The information's not too convoluted if you have an understanding of, you know, the metaphysical fundamental nature of reality, the universe. But
Yeah, okay,
I just
surely,
appeal to what
I agree.
science
So
says.
clearly, you're not just incredulous. So can you tell me what the formula for Newton's universal law of gravitation is?
See, these gotchas, you just want to do these gotchas, these sort of.
Well, look, if you weren't incredulous, meaning that you know what it's about and you still don't believe it, because what being incredulous is about is that it's you don't understand something and so you think it's too far-fetched. But if you're not being incredulous, what that means is that you actually do understand it, but you still think it's not plausible. So presumably, if you're not incredulous, you would know what the Newton's universal law of gravitation is, right?
It's because outer space is an interplay between inertia and gravity. If you have, you know, a concept like
Can you define what either of those terms are? Inertia and gravity?
See, we can't define terms. We couldn't define terms earlier, but now we want to define terms.
I was happy to define any term that you wanted, but you just changed the topic. If you want to go back, we can talk about gravitational waves and I can define every single term that you want.
Your argumentation is very coincidental. It really
I
is.
just called your bluff. That's funny, isn't it?
No, it's the fact that you presuppose that this godless world is real, and I question.
Are you saying
that
I
because
presuppose that the world exists?
you're presupposing the universe is godless,
No, I'm not.
and this
I'm making
this,
the claim that we have good reason to think
transcendental
it's
force,
not.
gravity. But
No,
gravity
no,
is
no,
this
you
transcendental
misunderstand.
force of the universe. It contains Earth's atmosphere, but it's also a force. That doesn't
What's the-
violate the law of the excluded middle at all.
I'm sorry,
where
what's
two
the
things can't be true
logical
at the same
violation
time.
here? What's the logical violation
It
here?
violates the law of the excluded middle.
Okay,
right,
what's
where
the
two
P,
things can-
what's the third option that it's presupposing between P and not
What's-
P?
So gravity cannot be a force and simultaneously a container for Earth's atmosphere,
How is that violating the law of the excluded middle?
because two things cannot be true at the same time.
Sure they can. A fire truck can be big and it can be red.
Can a fire truck be blue and red at the same time?
No, not in the same way, but that's not analogous to Earth or to gravity being a force and a container. In fact, all containers are forces, turns
But we're
out.
talking about the color of the fire truck.
I know. And so what you're doing is you're comparing two different colors to apples and potatoes. On the
No,
one
I'm
hand, you
comparing
have
it
two
to-
things that are comparable and cannot be the same at the same time. On the other hand, you have two different concepts, two different qualities of thing, two different categories, and so a thing can be in more than one category simultaneously. For example, I can be extremely tall and also an excellent debater who destroys flat earthers. Those two things are unrelated, and there's no violation of the law of the excluded middle in holding both things to be true.
That sounded more like an emotional appeal. I was
No,
very
I was just insulting flat earthers. That's all.
I don't see how there's this sense of coherency when you say creationism is not true.
I don't understand. Like, what kind of coherency are you asking for? Because I can give you a coherent account of the world.
Go for it. Go for it.
I already did. The de Sitter, the what was it called? De Sitter. I can't remember the last word. The de Sitter equilibrium is such an example.
Maybe
I brought this
me
up to the
being
past
here.
guest. I guess I didn't mention it to you, but yeah, I brought it up to the
I
past
guess I'm
guest.
just here on accident.
Well, I mean,
guess
I
I'm just here
I
on
would grant
accident.
that you stumbled into this live unprepared, but you know.
On accident. No, not I'm just here by
Well,
accident.
yeah, you just kind of like wandered in on accident.
No,
I
no,
can
no,
grant
no.
that.
My existence here is accidental, right?
Well,
Blitz?
I mean, I could grant that too, that you weren't born on purpose. But look, neither was I. So like, you know, it's fine.
Look, you're an intellectual individual, but I don't think you're honest about your
Oh,
intellectual.
what part was I saying that? What part?
Just overall.
I don't know why I
This
can't
has been
say.
a waste of time.
What have I not said that's
This
honest?
is a waste of time.
It sounds like you're running because you don't like the actual, you know, evidence that I'm providing you, which I get. Like, it's conflicting with your worldview, but oh, he ran. Bummer. Hello, YouTube. I'm gonna put 5 stars for that one because that one's straight up gold. All right, we'll read some more super chats and we'll bring on our next guest. So please just be patient. From Dr. Fudge with the $10, I gave it a goog. Apparently, the can't reach today from the infinite past goes back to Al-Ghazali in the 11th century, but then repopularized by Kant and now by William Lane Craig. Yeah, that seems right. From Christopher Sanford with the £10, is it just me or do these arguments tend to come in clusters? It seems like multiple colors across Blitz and Ian have screwed up the same infinite past argument in the last week or so. Yeah, they do. Something will go viral on TikTok and then people will be like, oh, that's such a good argument, I'm gonna go use it. From Binary Ghost to the $5, you know, this caller is right. You shouldn't start from a foundation that the world around you really exists. I keep telling you we are simulations. No! All right, who else was being obnoxious in the chat? If you're being obnoxious in the chat, please let me know. I'd love to hear it. Oh, and we also have $10 from Grimlock for hydration, but I'll promote once more. Fair enough. You have to be obnoxious in the chat and also want to come up. All right, let's talk to Bracket. Bracket, how's it going?
I'm fine. What about you?
I'm okay. How obnoxious in the chat are you being?
So actually, I want to ask you about the infinity regress. What is because
Sure, I guess we can do that again.
but
Do you
yeah,
think? But before we start, I just want to double check. Do you think that the world was created?
yeah.
Okay, great. So why should I think that the world is created?
Okay, so the infinity regress for me is impossible, but not in time because I don't believe time exists ontologically. So
Okay, so then what's the problem with an infinite regress?
so in the causes, because
Yeah.
the infinity of the causes, that is a problem because if you ask a question why Dr. Blitz exists today, so that's if there is if I ask you how many causes happened before you be exist, what do you think?
I mean, if there's an eternal past, it would be presumably an infinite number, infinite such quantity of
Infinite
such
number
things.
of causes happened
Yeah.
in the same time or in series.
No, they would be in series, presumably. Although there's a question
So-
about whether or not causes are actually like sequential or if they're actually simultaneous with their effects. That's a separate
But
question.
that is will be finite, not infinity, because it's happened in series.
Yeah, it could be an infinite. It could be an infinitely long series. There's no issue with that.
In causes,
Yeah, why not?
it will be finite, not infinity, because it's finite.
Why?
In series, if
Why
I
should I
said
think it's
that
finite?
because there is the first cause, second cause at
Why
the
should I think
infinity.
that there's?
So it will be
Why should I think that there's a first cause at all?
okay. There is no first cause, but it's finite right now. We
Well,
have
what do you
Dr.
what do you
Blitz.
mean it's finite? I mean, like, look, so I exist, but that just means that my cause exists, which just means that its cause exists, which means that its cause exists, and so on. And I don't see why it can't be the case that that chain of causation goes back forever.
But if you ask how much causes happened in series, it will be infinity, and that will
Yeah.
be paradox.
Why is that a paradox?
It's a paradox because that it's happened. It means that it's finite.
How does the fact that it happened mean that it's finite?
Because we have it today. This is the
Yeah, why can't an infinite number of causes have happened in the past, in the infinite past? Why is that a problem?
okay. If we imagine a group,
Mm-hmm.
okay, and there is a cause, and there is a cause and effect, and after that there is just an effect. This is a finite group, okay?
Okay.
Finite group, but if the first one we will call it cause, the second one cause and effect, and the last one is just the effect. The cause and
Okay.
the effect we can consider it like a center,
Okay.
okay, and the others it will be just a part, okay. But if it was infinite group, the parts of the groups will be just cause and effects, cause and effects, cause and
Yep.
effects, and all of them will be as centers without any parts.
Sorry, what's the word? They'll all be centers?
All the parts of the groups will be just as centers, because
All
it
the
will
parts of the
be
group will be the
just
centers.
cause and effects in the same
Yeah.
time. Cause
Okay,
and effects in the same
what's the
time.
problem? Well, not necessarily at the same time. I mean, you could have like a thing is caused to move, and so its effect is that it moves, and then some later time it causes a different thing by bumping into it. But like, yeah, what's the problem with having everything being both a cause and effect? What's the issue?
Because it will be all of them is the centers.
Okay, what's the problem?
So the centers is need the parts of them. For example, if I said, I don't know, if you have a circle and we have a center of the circle, we have the first part and the second part. For these centers, they didn't have a part.
I don't understand the objection here. What's the issue with having every event in the series of space-time events? What's the problem with having each of them be both a cause and an effect?
Yeah.
What's the problem?
Okay, when we said there is a finite group, we have the first one will be cause, and the second one cause and effect, and the
I
last
understand
one
that.
will be
I
effect.
understand that that's how it would
Okay,
work if
that's-
it was finite.
yeah.
But if it's not finite, then it doesn't work that way. What's the problem?
Okay, well, okay, because the first the cause and the effect will be a center of the group.
Okay, what's
and
the problem?
cause and the
What's the
cause
problem with
will
every
be
element
parts
being-
and the effect. But in the other way, the definition of the center will be always have a part. In the
I
case
don't know what
when
you
we
mean. I don't know
have
what you
an
mean. The
infinity group,
definition. So I don't know what you mean by the definition of a center is that it will always be a part. Like, look.
what is the
sounds
definition
like
of the center?
So I don't know. There is no center to an infinite sequence. There's no middle.
Okay, so the cause and the effects in finite group is not the same in cause and the center in the infinite group. It's not the same.
Yeah. So
So
finite
if we take it
sequences
just-
of cause and effect are different from infinite sequences of cause and effect. That's true. One is finite, the other is infinite.
How it's different?
I just told you, one
It's
is
the
finite,
same
the other is
cause and the
infinite.
same if we take it just the same cause and the same how this is the principle of identity we use in mathematics.
They're different
two
sets.
is two.
They're
Okay,
different sets.
two-
Of course, they're different.
Okay, two, the number two in a group, just we have 1, 2, 3 is not the same two in the group of R, for example, real number. It's not the same number for you.
It's not the same group. It's not the same number in what group?
For example, we have just finite group. We have 1, 2, 3. Okay.
Yeah.
And we have infinite group from minus infinity to plus the infinity. For
Yep.
you, the number 2 in this group is not the same number 2 of the other group. Yeah.
Oh, I mean, like it depends on what you mean by group, and it depends on what you mean by number. I mean, like they're written the same way. They represent the same thing, but they play different roles. Right?
In the group, not in the itself.
Yeah, sure. There's no issue with that.
In the group, yeah, I agree with
But
you
like,
in the group.
like there's nothing
But in
special.
itself, it will
there's
be
nothing-
always it will be always the number 2.
Yeah, but the number
but-
2 doesn't always have to be the center of a group.
No, so here, no, it's not always be.
And so,
center.
like,
But
the number 2
when
is
I
the
said-
center of the
when I
group
said-
1, 2, and 3,
when
but
I
it's
said-
not the
when I
center
said-
of the group that is
Yeah.
that goes off to
But-
minus infinity
but-
in one direction,
but-
plus infinity in the
yeah,
other
but
direction.
when in cause
so
fx,
in a conceptual chain of cause and effect, there just are no there are no central cause and effects. Like, there just aren't any, and that's fine. In the same way that there's no central number when you take all of the integers.
I don't agree because
The analogy is exact, by the way. So you said take the set of integers 1, 2, and 3, then 2, assuming that it's given in order, then 2 is the center of that group. Now, it's not a center in the group theoretic sense; it's a center as in,
no,
like,
it's
the middle.
not the center in this group because the center is
What?
is,
No, no,
is,
1, 2, and
is other thing is in theory of numbers, or theory of groups. Is
I
other
know,
thing.
I know.
But-
You're
but
referring
here,
to the
when
middle. You're
I
referring to
talked
the
about-
middle. Let me
Okay,
finish,
yeah,
please.
it's middle.
So
Yeah.
the number 2 is the middle of the list
Yeah.
of the list of integers 1, 2, and 3, assuming that you have some sort of ordering. However, if you take a list that covers all of the integers, all the way from integers approaching negative infinity on one side and positive infinity on the other side, then there is no single number that's the middle of those
Yeah, yeah,
integers.
yeah.
And
Yeah,
so that's
I agree.
exactly like. That's exactly
take-
like the comparison between a
I
finite.
talk-
Please, I'm in the middle of a sentence. It's exactly analogous to the comparison between, or is exactly analogous to the case where you have a group of finite causes and effects and a group of infinite causes and effects. So in the one case, you will have a middle, and in the other case, you won't.
Okay, can I answer now?
Go ahead. Now that I've finished my sentence, go ahead.
I'm sorry. Okay, so in the group, you can say it's a middle of the group. But here, I talk about the center because it's cause and effects is another thing. I talk about
Are you
another
using
thing.
center?
So
Are you
is it-
using center in the mathematical sense? I just want to clarify.
No, it's not. It's not in mathematical sense. Is a middle, not a center. When we said 1, 2, 3, but here when we said cause and effects is a center, and cause is will be a side of the center, and effects is will be a side of the center.
I don't know what
But
you mean
in
by
the-
a center then.
So the center who have a side, because when I said cause and effects, and cause effects, so here, for example, the first one is will be cause, and the second one is will be cause and effects, and the other one, and the last one is will be just the effects. Here, cause and effects is will be a center, and cause is will be side, and the
Oh.
other cause effects is will
Okay,
be side.
so you're saying that any time that you have something which is a cause and effect, both a cause and effect, then it must have a cause on one side and an effect on the other side?
Okay, if that is never is doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. We will say that we have a center without side.
Well, look,
And
so
that's,
even in an infinite regress, every event that's both a cause and an effect is preceded by a cause and followed by an effect. That's still true.
Yeah.
It's just the effects that it's followed by is also the cause for a subsequent effect. This is the same way, like let's say that you had a list of 4 causes and effects. So you have cause and effect, and effect, right? In that case, the first cause and effect is followed by another cause and effect, and that doesn't make the first cause and effect not causal.
Okay,
It still has
here-
that. It's still followed by an effect, and it's still preceded by a cause.
I'm sorry because I'm not good in English, but I will
fine.
try to
You're
explain.
doing great.
Because here we have 4. We have cause and effects, and you said cause and effects, cause and effects in the final.
Yep.
Form 4. Okay, here even we have 4 in these groups, but we can make it 3 because the first cause will be indirect cause of the third one, because always
indirect
it will be
cause. Well,
indirect
yeah.
cause. Yeah,
So
it will
sure.
be indirect cause,
So-
and I can make it just one, and I have a center and side.
Well,
You can-
okay, but so then we're just not talking about a chain, right? And so now,
But
now you're
infinite
just,
chain,
now you're
we
just
can't do that.
assuming
We can't
now
do-
you're just assuming that every cause and effect chain has a first cause, which is the thing that you're trying to prove. So you can't really assume that if you're trying to prove that.
Yeah, exactly.
So you can't. So this argument then falls flat because you're just assuming that there's a first cause.
Yeah, this is.
Okay, but you can't assume that there's a first cause if you're trying to prove that there's a first cause.
It's like that because we have a
It's
paradox
circular.
if we have just first. Yeah. Okay. You want to talk about circle cause and effects, yeah?
No. I'm saying that your argument is circular
Why?
because you're assuming that there's a first cause in order to try to prove that there's a first cause.
Nope. I said I said if we have infinity of cause and effect, and I have a paradox because I have a center without without sides, and here it will be a paradox. So the group is
What's
not
the paradox?
infinity.
What's the paradox?
It's we have a center without sides.
How are there? What's the center? What's the center of an infinite group?
Cause and effect is like that. Cause and effect.
I don't see how that's a center. It's not like you can collapse it down to a single thing.
Because you compare it first with just finished group, cause,
Yeah.
cause and effect, and we make this group infinity. It will be just all the members of the group. It will be just cause and effects, cause and effects, cause and
Actually,
effects.
so just to be clear, that actually doesn't follow. You can have an infinite sequence that has a first and a last element. There's actually no issue there. You can also have an infinite sequence that doesn't have a first and a last element. So it seems like that this is like a non-starter to begin with.
Yeah, it will be the same problem.
Yeah, i.e. there is no problem.
Can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, so what is the problem with every cause also being an effect? What's the actual issue there?
This is my claim. It's every cause was effect in the same time is will be a center. If
Okay, what's the problem with that?
If it was a finished group, that is not a problem. It is because it will be a center and they have a sides.
Okay,
but in
why
infinite groups,
should I expect that? Why should I expect that an infinite sequence should ever have any first or last element?
First, infinite sequence don't have a first and last element.
So why should I assume that they should?
Because infinity.
Infinite sequences don't have to have a first or last element.
Yeah. But that is will be paradox because
what's the paradox? Why should I care that there's a center without edges? Like why should that matter? How is that a paradox?
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you now. Yeah.
Okay, because the definition of the center is it's like necessary to have a side because you can't define a center without sides.
Look, to be clear, you defined a center as just a thing that's a cause and effect. You didn't define a center as a thing with sides. Right. If you want to define a center as just anything that's both a cause and effect, then every element in the infinite sequence, assuming that there's no beginning and no end, is also a center. If instead you define a center as a thing with sides, then nothing in the infinite sequence, a thing with sides where one of them is just a cause and one of them is just an effect, then nothing in the sequence is a center. So you can't have both definitions apply because both definitions don't mean the same thing. They're not identical. They're only identical in the finite case.
So it's not this. You mean that is not the same? The cause and the effect in the finished group is not the cause and the effect in the unfinished
group. What I'm saying is that the definitions you're giving for the word center, which is like it's just a word that is never really used in this context, but fine. The definition that you're giving for the word center only means so you've given two definitions for a center, right? One definition is that it's a thing that's both a cause and an effect, and the other definition is that it's a thing that has a cause to one side of it and an effect to the other side, where the cause is not also an effect and the effect is not also a cause. That it's between a pure cause and a pure effect. But those are only the same thing for finite. Those two definitions are only the same thing once you take a finite collection of cause and effect and collapse them down. But those are not the same thing if you're talking about an infinite collection of cause and effect. So the definitions only mean the same thing when you're talking about finite sets to begin with. And so you can't assume that they mean the same thing, that those two definitions are equivalent when you're talking about infinite sets. So I can agree that it means that a cause and effect.
Not the same
Yeah, go ahead.
cause and effects because
No,
we,
they're the
when
same
we
cause
have
and effects. They're just not the same. They're just not centers in the same way.
So, but the problem is will be like violation of the principle of identity is the same cause and effect.
It's the same
You
cause and
can
effect.
just
But
make-
no,
which I
look,
changed just a group.
Okay, look, the problem is not what the cause and effect are. The problem is how you're defining what a center is. The word
So have
center.
a sides.
Okay,
have a
so
cause and have a.
but those aren't the same thing.
Okay.
It's not, so having sides is not the same thing as having is not the same thing as being both a cause and effect. Those are not the same thing. Right? Like, it's not the case that just because something has sides, then it is a cause and an effect. And it's not the case that just because something is a cause and an effect, that it has sides. Those are not the same thing.
Just
And
because
so-
you compare it with.
So like in the infinite in the infinite sequence, they are causes and effects, but they don't have sides. They don't have collapsible sides anyway. They have sides, but you know we're assuming that you're collapsing all the sides in. Like it's just it's what you're doing is something called a Mott and Bailey, if you will. Like you're defining it one way. Oh, it's just a cause and effect. You're defining what a center is one way. It's just a cause and effect, and then you're switching it out. Sorry, you're calling it that it's a thing with sides,
Okay,
and then you're switching it
let's
out
make-
for a thing that's a cause and effect.
Let's make it in another way. Imagine that we have a semi-infinite group. It starts from minus infinity to effects, and
Sure.
the other semi-group from a cause to the infinity effect. Okay, to the infinity. Okay.
Yep, sure.
So here we can't have the full group if we close it actually. Because
I don't know what you're
that will be
saying.
just-
We can't have the full group
we-
if you close it.
Yeah, if we take
don't know what that means.
the both of the groups, for example, minus infinity to plus the infinity, the last one here it will be fx, and the first one in the other group it will be cause. And
Yeah,
it will be
and then when you
separately,
combine
it's not
them-
the same, and he can't be a
Yep.
cause and the fx in the same time because that is another thing, and that is.
Well, no, I mean, like, so
other
if
thing.
you take a sequence that has an effect, and you take that to be the last element of the sequence, then it's certainly not the cause in the sequence because it's the last element. There's nothing that it can cause afterwards. But if you take that same that same effect and treat it as the starting, this starting event in some sequence of events that happens afterwards, then it can be the cause of that sequence of events. And then you put them together, and now the thing that was the final effect and was the initial cause overlap, and now it's both a cause and an effect.
Okay, maybe I will think about it and talk another time because
Okay,
even my
That's
English
fine.
doesn't help here. So
that's understandable. All right, Bracken, I'm
Yeah,
gonna let you go,
thank
but
you.
thank you. Take care.
thank you.
All right, we have some super chats to read, and we'll bring on our next guest. Thank you guys so much for being generous and being patient. I appreciate all of you. Remember, make sure to like the live. If you get the live up to 100,000 likes on TikTok, I will put my hair down, and people seem to like that for whatever reason. All right, we have £5 from Matt Lloyd, trying to avoid obvious joke about an infinite number of guests talking about regression. Yeah, no, you don't have to avoid it. It's a funny joke. And from Waftcast with the $2, how do you feel about Borguth-Vilenkin theorem? I take it that it's not actually a mathematically rigorous theorem. It's not particularly well defined. The average curve or the average expansion is not well defined. It's coordinate dependent. From Binary Ghost with the $5, no middle of infinity, bro. Just infinity over 2. Checkmate 8. True, you got me. I've been had. And then from Brian Peck with the $20, which is very, very generous and very appreciated. Wow. When a creationist says under determination, you can just smell the second-hand Jay Dyer. Also, Oakley can't write. The book is his wife transcribing his self-aggrandizing achievements in a manic state of hand to man. That's crazy. That is just his wife transcribing his self-aggrandizing achievements. That's really funny. Also, the underdetermination stuff from Jay Dyer is exceptionally funny because nobody actually knows what underdetermination is. All right, let us bring up our next guest. So we have a bunch of guests who are, oh no, we have no guests. What's up? Oh, okay. All right, let's bring up our next guest from TikTok, because there's no guests in the YouTube queue right now. Let's bring up some guy. Some guy, how's it going?
Hey, how's it going? I'm just gonna put some headphones in case there's an echo.
I appreciate that. Works for me. So, some guy, while you're putting in your headphones, do you think that the Earth or the world or reality was created? And by created, I mean formed intentionally.
Yeah, so I would say I'm an agnostic, and so I'm exploring both options.
Okay, well then the best way
And
to
so
do
I
that would be
wanted
to
to present.
the best way to do that would be to
I
listen.
wanted to present an argument about why it might be created,
Well,
if that's okay.
arguments about mights are not particularly compelling. Arguments about logical possibility is not particularly compelling. But if you want to explore the arguments, feel free to listen in the listen from chat, because that's where you'll hear the most vociferous arguments from both sides. Isaac, how's it going?
Oh, hello. Can you hear me?
Howdy. I can. Isaac, do you think that the world was created intentionally?
I do, but I wouldn't say, like, I'm not, for some of your past reasons, like, I understand your idea of, like, the infinite regress. I know why that's, like, a fallacy for the viewer's point of view. But I want to just ask you because you obviously have a degree of a PhD, you're way more intelligent with physics and all that. Are you convinced that there is no creator, as in, like, there is an argument that you have that fully disproves it, or do you just base off what evidence that you have?
So I'm convinced. I'm not claiming proof.
Okay.
But like, I'm convinced that gravity exists, but I like, this is one of those things that like flat earthers love. Like, generally when we make statements that involve like observations about the world around us, we have a very, very hard time actually coming up with proofs, because this is reliant on kind of like induction, where we accumulate evidence and that increases the likelihood that it's true, but it never proves it true, right? So all I'm saying is that I think that we have very compelling reasons to think that it's false, and those reasons are sufficiently compelling that I am convinced by them.
Right. So then I guess my follow-up is just like, what is missing for there to be any form of proof for either side?
Well,
like, is there something in physics that would fully prove one thing or the other that we don't know yet?
I mean, it depends on what you mean by proof. I mean, it in the real world, we never really talk about proof. We use the word proof colloquially to mean, like, you know, substantial evidence, right? But when we're doing science, science gets you evidence and it gets you support for claims. It doesn't prove things. You only find proof in mathematics and philosophy.
Right. Maybe I'm just throwing around proof too lightly in the sense. More like, just like, you know, you're talking about the whole thing with quantum gravity not being known and the whole how that fits in. And then if that's discovered,
that can very well provide even more compelling evidence that the universe was not formed intentionally. But like, again, it'll never get to proof. Perhaps it'll get to the point where the evidence is so compelling that you have no good reason to think otherwise. But, you know, proof is always proof implies 100% certainty, right? Whereas when we're collecting evidence about the world around us, you never get to 100% certainty. You get to 99.9, you know, 9999% certainty or whatever.
Okay, and then so my last thing I kind of want to talk about while we're on the concept of just evidence. So I know that you look into like the physics and the reality kind of evidence, but do you look into historical evidence too?
Yep.
Have you tried, like, for example, I'm just Christian, just to point that out there.
Sure.
And I'm obviously not a historian in the sense, but I would say I have taken a long gander into the evidence into whether or not Jesus was real.
I think that Jesus almost certainly existed.
Right, I agree with that too. So then it just really boils down to if he was lying or not, which I know is a lot more difficult to prove.
It's not clear. That's not the only other option. So it could be that the things that we have about Jesus, the things that are written about Jesus, are just not representative of what the actual man said. It's possible that they are representative about what the actual man said, but the actual man was delusional, and so it's not really lying to be delusional, right? It could be the case that it's a mix of the two, that there's like some embellishments happening in the texts that we have that talk about what he said. It could be the case, and you know, depending on how you interpret this, there are those who make the claim that Jesus never claimed to be God. In which case he doesn't need to be lying. Now he could be wrong about some things without being delusional. Like, you know, I would say that religious people are wrong about things, but they're not delusional about them. Well, some of them are, but not all of them. They're just wrong. And so, you know, it's not just like the only option. It's not like the only option is that he's lying, right? There's so many other explanations for why we have the texts that we have.
Well, do you think that? So you brought up the whole point of he might have never claimed to be God. I'm personally on the side, obviously, that he did. But if he did,
so he used the phrase "son of man." So at least in the Gospels, the phrase "son of man" is he uses the phrase "son of man." Now, if you go look at, and again, not a Bible expert here, but my understanding is if you go look at Hebrew text that uses similar language, that's never used to refer to a god. It's used to refer to like angels. And like semi-divine beings.
The most I heard was the whole like son of David / the what was it that he said, the I am, with the before Abraham, I am, the whole idea that he existed before Abraham and was there.
But lots of people, but Adam existed before Abraham, right? Like he could, like, look, so angels existed before Abraham. Angels existed before Abraham, right?
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
So just because he existed before Abraham, that doesn't mean that he's God. It could mean that he is some sort of like semi-divine being, like a demigod or like an angel or, you know, something like that.
I haven't heard that. I have not heard that before. That's interesting. But if that is true, wouldn't that kind of sway your opinion on religion and creationism?
Look, if it's true that he's a demigod, well, yeah, if that's true, of course. But I don't think it's true.
Okay. I mean, that's fair.
Like lots of people say things about themselves that aren't true. He may have even believed it. In fact, I've spoken with people who claim that they are the reincarnation of Jesus.
Yes, I have also heard of these people.
It doesn't mean, and they believe it, and that doesn't mean that it's true.
All right, that is fair. I don't have much else, just because I don't have like an argument for like infinite regress or whatever other debate. But thank you, and appreciate talking to you.
Take care. All right. Let me drink some more water, and then I'll bring up another guest. Again, remember to like the live, whether you're watching on TikTok or on YouTube, or even if you're watching on Twitch and you want to subscribe, these are the things to do. Like the live, send it out, we get more people in here, we get more interesting conversations. All right. Now, TikTok. That's where all of you guys are. If you are being not degenerate, if you are being loud and annoying in the comments, let me know. Because I'd love to, you know, bring up the people who are most prolific. Yeah, you can also join the Discord without disagreeing. That's true too. We are degenerate. True. Alex is loud. Okay, let's bring up Alex. Thank you, chat, for letting me know who's loud. Alex.
Hello,
Alex, how's it going?
Testing. 1, 2, 3.
I can hear you just great, Alex. Alex, do you believe that the world was formed with intention?
Sorry, man. This is my first time doing live. Just want to say hi to Dr. Blitz. Thank you for accepting this. Want to say hi also to the chat. I've been muted a couple times. You know, kind of sad about that.
So why don't you tell me why you think the world was created intentionally?
You wanna know something, Dr. Chat? Like, this is what I think about all this, chat.
You're not talking to chat anymore. You're talking to me.
Yeah. Well, man, yeah, I am talking to you, but I'm also talking to chat too. I'm talking to everyone, you know.
Okay, so why do you think that the world was created intentionally?
So the thing is that I'm more of a sort of this like non-overlapping magisterial principle guy, you know.
That's
like
cool. So why should I think that the world was created intentionally?
So I almost think that like you can't really use all those the reasoning fact, though. You can't have the same sort of, you know, modern view and keep holding those ancient beliefs. You know, that's really tough. It's
okay. So why do you think that the world was formed intentionally?
Hold up. I'm saying, like, what's it called? I just think that we're starting.
Hold up. I want you to actually give me the reason why you think it's true.
We're starting from two different positions, though.
I'm just asking you to give me a reason. Surely you have a reason for why you think that your belief is true. I want to know what the reason is.
No, but the thing is that, but there's a thing behind the reason though. I can't explain that.
Well, I'd like to hear the reason first to make sure that there is a reason at all. If there is a
But I
reason, then we
thought,
can talk about why that then we can talk about that reason afterwards.
but I thought, but I just wanted to argue from a different set of axioms. You know,
Okay,
I just want
what
to
set
go
of
ahead.
axioms are you arguing from? Please list them for
I
me.
told you. No, I told you already.
Okay, what's the first one? What's the first axiom?
Okay, no. The first, no. It's just go ahead. It's a fact that I think that you cannot go.
That's not an axiom.
It's almost like, well,
Good try,
hold on.
Alex.
Well,
All right, let's talk to Kabul Jakovo. Kabul, how's it going?
Hey, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. Kabul,
Yeah, how you doing?
do you believe that the world was formed intentionally?
Yes, but I don't know if you've heard about the American scientist called Robert Gentry.
Robert Gentry. No, I've never heard of him. What does he have to
He
do with
had
the
like
world
an
being formed intentionally?
Well, I don't know if you know anything about chemistry and stuff like that.
I don't know a lot
If
about
this
chemistry,
is-
no.
Well, I heard one. I want to hear your view on this
Mm-hmm.
evidence of. I think there is a correlation between creationism, and the young Earth theory. If you've heard
Yep.
of this.
They are very closely related.
Yeah, so the one evidence that I found kind of compelling is when they looked at how Earth is made, and you have the outer layer, and then underneath you have granite and basalt.
Sure.
Yeah, and in granite, when they were analyzing it, they found like circles or bubbles of polonium-218.
Okay, I'll believe you.
I mean, yeah, like this.
I haven't
Robert
heard this
Gentry
claim,
kinda-
but like I'm sure we can Google it if it becomes relevant. But
Yeah,
go
this
ahead.
is like the reference is the Robert Gentry, the scientist
Mhm.
that had like an open debate for 30.
So we
something
have
years.
we have rings of polonium. You said.
Well, this is the isotope of polonium.
Yeah,
218.
yeah. So and what was this about? What was this about rings?
Well, when you look at the analysis that they found,
Oh,
you can
are
see
these polonium halos?
Yeah, like halos. Sorry,
Okay.
English
Yeah,
is
yeah,
not my main language. And the half-life of polonium-218 is 2.5 minutes, I think, or maybe like 3 minutes.
Let's find out. Half-life of polonium 28. Sorry, not 281. 218. It's 3. Yeah, it's about 3 minutes. Is the half-life.
Yeah. So the claim here is, if they found polonium-218 in granite, that means that it has to be formed in under 3 minutes, because it will break down into heavier elements.
Well, no, wait a minute. I don't think that follows. I think the point is that if something decays into polonium, and that thing that decays into polonium at a fairly consistent rate exists in the embedded in the granite, then you expect to see a fairly constant amount of polonium, because you have say whatever it is that decays into polonium, and we can go look at the radionuclide chains if you want, but say it's, I don't know, what's the next element above polonium 218?
Yeah, the heavier elements down.
Radionuclide chain. I'm just gonna pull it up so I don't speak the wrong thing. Okay, so radon 222 decays via alpha emission with a 3.82 day half-life to produce polonium 218. So and then something's going to decay into radon, and something's going to decay into that, and so on and so forth. So the point is that if you have a reservoir of some slowly decaying element, say uranium or something like that, and that reservoir is constantly giving off elements that decay quickly, what you will find is you will not accumulate polonium, but you will get to an equilibrium level of polonium. Basically you have, each time one of these uranium atom decays, it would descend until it's polonium, and at any given time you'd have some of them in the polonium phase of its decay. It doesn't require that the granite formed 3 minutes ago. It just requires that there is a slowly decaying radioactive element that is producing polonium.
Yeah, so if I don't know what is the a theory about how long Earth was being created for when it comes to the Big Bang and all of that. I think the argument
So
here
the
is
Earth is
that,
usually said to be 4.5-ish billion years old.
yeah, but it was formed during like 100,000 millions of years, right?
Sure.
Yeah, because this is a claim towards like the 6 days of creation, and that this was literal like minutes that took place when the Earth was created. I think this was the argument that they were going for.
Yep. That's the argument, but what's the evidence for it? Because clearly, and like as I hope you just followed, the point is that if you have a large reservoir of a slowly decaying radioactive substance that's embedded in the granite, then it would follow that you would always find some small amounts of short-lived radioactive elements embedded in the granite, so long as they come from the long-lived elements. So there's not really there's not really an issue there.
Yeah, I was just, like, so it wouldn't all break down during this time.
Okay, so yeah. So I actually just found something online that exactly, it's funny because it shows you that I actually know what I'm talking about, because I didn't read this beforehand, but it is saying exactly what I just said. Let me pull this up so you can see it. Gentry and Snelling's claims are without validity. These creationists ignore the fact that uranium in the original magma would be continuously supplying polonium isotopes during the 5 million years of cooling. That's exactly what I was saying. That you don't need the polonium to last 5 million years. You just need there to be sources, like radioactive sources, like uranium, that decay into polonium and consistently supply that polonium during that cooling phase.
Yeah, what is this from? NCSE?
From the National Center for Science Education.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear, what would be the counter arguments for this, because I haven't heard any of them.
Oh, but that was literally the first link on Google. I just typed in.
I don't know.
I typed in polonium-218 halos, and then the first link was origin of polonium halos. Are you sure you looked into this?
Yeah, you see, the Robert Gentry, he was like having this open debate. He was all about this. That no one can prove that
But so did you Google it?
Yeah, but
it was the first link.
Yeah, I don't know how.
So I don't know how you didn't see the. Anyway, okay. Well, thanks for being here, Kapul. Now, hopefully now you know, and you won't bring that up again, because now you know how it's explained.
Yeah, thank you.
Take care.
Bye.
He's gonna bring it up again, won't he? Alex in the comments says, Doc don't want to start where I want to start. He wants to jump to the assumption. Yes, it's my live. I want you to give me the reason first, and then we can talk about the reason. From Dakin with the $5. If humans never evolved on Earth, and there was no one around to write the Bible, would God still exist? Great question. Obviously no. But great question. Yeah, Alex is still going off. Exactly he is. NCSE is funded by leftist Illuminati, of course, right? I mean, left. Yeah, exactly. Are you saying he might be like angel investor? Yeah, of course he is. TikTok chat is much more unhinged generally. That's very true. All right, let's talk to non-sectarian heretic. Non-sectarian heretic, how's it going?
Hello, how are you?
I'm doing all right. Non-sectarian heretic, that's quite the name. Do you think that the Earth was formed intentionally? Or the world was formed intentionally, perhaps?
Yeah, to a degree, but I'm sure I'd have to qualify it.
Yeah, okay. So why do you think so?
I'm not a philosopher, but I can understand some of the explanations to like how contingency works. So I would say because it exists, there was intentionality behind it.
How do you go from like what's the connection between it existing and it having intentionality behind it?
How Penrose explains contingency.
Okay, go ahead.
I can't, like I said, I'm not a philosopher, but
well, neither is Penrose, so.
Right.
So it sounds like we don't really have anything to talk about if you're not going to actually give me the reason.
Well, no, I have things to. I was curious. Are you against the idea of what do you mean by creationism? Like,
Yeah, that
like
that the
young Earth
world,
creationists, or
that the world or the universe or whatever it is, reality was formed with intention.
formed with intention. Okay, yeah. I mean, morality, contingency, and consciousness would be
Okay.
reasons for me to believe that.
Can you give me the arguments for why those things suggest intention?
I don't know if there's a reason for them to exist if there isn't some sort of intention behind it.
So what makes you think that, in what sense do you think that morality exists? Like, it exists in what sense? Do you think it's like, some objective fact about the world that would still be there even if there was no humans? Do you think that it's like some like kind of universal feature of like agents? Do you think that it's like a construct produced by societies? Do you think it's like a genetic, like what sense do you think that morality exists in? We can start there.
Because if it doesn't, then there really is no.
I was asking what sense you mean by exist, because a lot of people mean different things when they say that morality exists, so I just want to clarify.
Okay. What do I mean by it existing?
Because like obviously it's not like a rock, like you can't go and hold morality, so in what sense do you mean exist?
It is mind independent to be good, to do what sits within morality.
Okay, it's mind independent, so then why do you need something with intention in order to produce morality if it's mind independent?
Because it still needs to be rooted within a god or a being.
Not if it's mind independent.
Well,
if it's mind independent, it doesn't depend on a god or a being, right?
Depending on what you mean by god or mind, it would be independent of my mind.
Well, mind independent typically means it's independent of all minds. Do you just mean that it's independent of human minds, but it might be dependent on some other mind?
It would be dependent on the existence of a being that is the ground of reality, but it is independent of our minds of existing.
Okay.
Human minds.
So it sounds like what you're saying is that it only makes sense that morality exists because morality it only makes sense that a god exists because morality exists. And the reason that follows is because morality depends on a god existing. So like you kind of said that God exists because morality exists and morality exists because a god exists, but surely you can see how that's circular.
Not exactly, but I'm also not, I don't have a problem with the circular argument because to an extent, what's the saying? Turtles all the way down. I mean, there's a
turtles all the way
difference
down are
between-
not circular. That's the point.
It
doesn't close back up on itself.
Agree to disagree. What kind of doctor are you, if you don't mind my asking?
I'm a physicist.
Where do you work? Oh, sorry, that might be too personal. Where can I look up some of your work?
You can go to my website. It's blitz.phd.
Are you what kind of physicist?
The theoretical kind.
Okay. Have you heard of Dr. Morris by chance?
Never heard of him or her.
He's a medical physicist.
Okay. I haven't met all of the physicists in the world.
I'm aware of that. I can ask a question. Good Lord.
But look, so if you're okay with circular reasoning, why can't I just say morality exists because the universe exists and the universe exists because morality exists? I don't need a god.
You can.
So then how?
You can.
So then it seems like the argument doesn't really work. It doesn't really justify the claim if you can come to the opposite claim using the same argument.
Yeah, I mean, it's a belief. I mean, you can't prove nor disprove there is or is not a God, right?
I'm not asking for proof.
Reason?
I'm just asking. Yeah, I'm asking for reasoning. But it seems like it's not a good reason if the same reason can come to the opposite conclusion.
Well, I mean, not necessarily. I mean, I've determined that to be the good reason.
Okay.
For myself, because belief in a being or a God or the ground of reality, whatever you want to call it, it is all unique to each individual.
Sure, but do you think that beliefs are supposed to? Do you think that if a belief points to something real, that belief should be grounded in something that actually could that the thing that belief is grounded in could actually be violated in some way, that the grounding for that belief could be falsified in some way, that, you know, if the world were a different way, then you would come to the opposite belief?
Laymanize that for me.
What I mean is, sorry, it just wasn't well formulated. What I mean is something like this. If a belief is to be well justified, at least in my view, then what it should have is it should have some connection with the way the world actually is. And so if the world was different, then the belief should be different. If the world was different in the appropriate way, then the belief should be different. But it seems like the way that you come to your belief is not informed on at all by the way the world actually is, because it's circular. So it doesn't actually have to make connection with the actual world at all. It just makes a connection with itself.
I might not have enough cognitive ability to keep up with the issue. I believe there's a God because I choose to believe there is a God. What's wrong with that?
Well, because it's not explaining anything, right? So look, I believe the sun
Does
exists.
there need to be an explanation?
Unless you just have beliefs for no reason at all, I guess. Like, look, I believe the sun exists.
Experience is enough.
Those can be explanations. Experiences can be explanations. So look, I believe hold on, let me explain.
I would say I have experiences then too.
So I believe that the sun exists because there is a fact in the world that I can go out and, examine. I can go look in the sky and see a thing that is it's like a sun. Maybe it's not the sun, but at least I have some reason to think that it is the sun because I can go out and look at the sky, right? But if I went out and I looked at the sky and it was just dark all of the time, then now I wouldn't have a reason to believe that the sun exists, because the way I came to that belief was by looking at the sky and seeing a particular thing. So all I'm saying is that if the reason you came to a belief is just not connected with any part of reality, then it seems like that the belief just has no reason. It's not justified in any way.
How do you know what the sun is, though, beforehand?
I don't have to know.
Also.
The point is, so I don't have to know in order to believe it, but at least there is some connection between my belief and some aspect of reality. Now, it could be wrong. That connection could be mistaken. That connection could be, it could be a red herring. But there's at least a reason why that belief exists in the first place. Does that make sense?
Well, I would say, yeah, okay. Then we can go a little bit farther. I would say my experience in my life, feeling as though I do have some sort of connection to a God and believe I've heard his voice and have seen change occur in my life because of a set of beliefs that have changed.
And so if it were the case that God didn't exist, how would those experiences change? How would those experiences have been different?
So, for instance, I was not, I would say, a great person objectively, even if you don't believe in objective morality, you societally. And through belief in a divine being loving me and realizing that I didn't need to do what I was doing to receive love, it's transformed me. And you're saying if there was no God, how
would those experiences have been different?
I don't think they would have existed.
So, what about the experiences? So, look, did you see God in person?
No.
Okay. Mm-mm. Because if you did see God in person and then God didn't exist, then you just wouldn't have seen him, right? So what did happen? Is it you felt a good feeling after you prayed, or what's
the epiphany of understanding that my value is determined by who creates me, not what I do or what people say about me.
Could you have that epiphany even if a God didn't exist?
If you were created by something that is unintentional, then no.
So when you have a
if the universe just births me, and there's no real rhyme or reason to it, then I mean, however I determine my value is however I determine my value, right?
Right,
So
but that wasn't my question. My question was not whether or not the belief would be accurate if God didn't exist. My question is whether or not that epiphany could, or that the epiphany would be accurate. My question was whether or not that epiphany could happen.
no, I don't believe it could.
So you don't think people have had epiphanies about gods that don't exist before?
Can you rephrase it? Like, of course, people have. We may be presupposing what I believe in terms of God.
I imagine that you don't believe that like Apollo is blessing you on the battlefield.
To an extent, I mean, I'm a non-sectarian heretic, so.
Okay, do you believe that
I believe
Apollo is blessing you on the battlefield?
I think Apollo is the expression of somebody experiencing the divine.
Okay,
and
but not
it's the
but
same
not,
as
but
my
Apollo,
experience, but I call it something different.
Right. So when somebody has an epiphany that Apollo is blessing them on the battlefield, that's not right. Right? Because Apollo is not real. It's the thing because Apollo is not the thing that you believe in. You think that what they think of as Apollo is actually some aspect of something greater that you believe in, right?
Just because they understand this thing to be something different than what I understand it to be doesn't mean we're also thinking about the same thing. And just because our varying degrees
but they're not
of what we think about it,
they're wrong, right?
How can you say that? I mean, who knows?
Well, presumably you don't think that Apollo is like a guy that's the son of Zeus, that, you know, blah 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 blah, right? Like that's just, you don't, unless you do think that, I guess.
I mean, I don't, but I don't see how him believing in Apollo and his experience coming to understand that that's to the degree to which he understands the divine doesn't mean he and I are not meditating on the same exact divine being. It's just to that point, that's how it has been expressed to him in his culture. But it doesn't mean it's not the same thing.
Look, so what you're saying is that the thing that he's experiencing is actually the thing that you're experiencing. But this person lived 3,000 years ago or whatever, having this epiphany, the epiphany is about something that you're not talking about. It's about like a dude that's like the son of Apollo and has like magic powers. Sorry, the son of Zeus and has like magic powers. And that's not what you're talking about. So he's mistaken about Apollo being the son of Zeus and having magic powers. You think that instead he's getting an epiphany for some other reason and he's interpreting it incorrectly.
I don't know. It could be accurate to the circumstance that he's able to see it.
So the same thing that you're seeing, the same cause of your epiphany is that cause is indeed a magic guy who's the son of Zeus? You believe that the god that caused your epiphany is the son of Zeus?
No, but it doesn't mean that my experience and his experience are not somehow tied to the same being.
They could, look, the cause of the experience is different from the cause of the experience is different from the experience itself.
Right, but also the timing and what I understand about reality and what he understands about reality and his history and his culture completely changes so many parts.
Yep, that's exactly it. The point is that regardless of what the underlying cause is for an epiphany, what the actual epiphany is tied to cultural stuff, right?
And it's tied to each individual as well.
Yeah, sure. And so this means that the nature of the epiphany, what the actual epiphany is about, is completely untied to the cause of the epiphany. So in fact, even if a god didn't exist, you could still have the epiphany so long as it's caused by some other non-god mechanism.
I mean, if we assume that what your understanding of God is
the divine,
and
anything
how it
that's
operates,
divine, perhaps.
Yeah, and what is that? I mean,
I take
you're
it
really confident in what you think this stuff is.
I take the divine to be, you know, anything that is, you know, perhaps foundational or perhaps worthy of worship or perhaps the origins of various transcendental things. I take it that's what the divine is. But look, I mean, like, we can just take the divine as a primitive. Like, you believe in the divine, I don't. So we both have like a kind of vague understanding of what that means. The point is that if it's the case that you can have an epiphany where the content of the epiphany is unrelated to the cause of the epiphany, then it seems like you can have an epiphany about, you know, being loved by whatever created you, even if the thing that the epiphany is about doesn't exist. It's not reality.
I don't know if I agree with that.
In your view, is it possible for an atheist to have an epiphany about how we're all just dust in the wind and there is no rhyme or reason for any of this, and that realization might be freeing for them? Is that possible?
I mean, not an epiphany.
Why not?
Because an epiphany is a specific thing.
Yeah, it's like a sudden realization.
Not exactly. It has to do with a divine revelation, essentially.
No, it doesn't have to do with anything divine. It's typically just meaning
I believe an epiphany
like a sudden realization.
divine.
Okay, so and you know, this is just a semantic dispute, but I can just show you the way I'm using it, and hopefully that can clarify things. So epiphany, so there's the Christian festival, but ignore that. The second definition is an appearance or manifestation, especially of a divine being. So like it typically is about a divine being, but it doesn't have to be. But I was using it in this kind of sense, 3a, a usually sudden manifestation or perception of the essential nature or meaning of something. Right?
Sure.
Like people have epiphanies about like how to solve a problem all the time, and that's not usually divine, right? So like could somebody have an epiphany in that sense? Could somebody have an epiphany in a sense that doesn't have anything to do with the divine?
I mean, I think people can have a sudden strike of genius and don't know where it comes from. I would say that source of the information is from the divine.
Oh, well, okay, that's your interpretation, but my point is like you can have epiphanies. The way that you're comfortable using epiphanies is just like a sudden realization or a sudden perception of the essential nature of something, or a sudden grasping of something. And so my question is, can somebody have an epiphany where the content of the epiphany is that they are just dust in the wind, that none of this has any purpose, and therefore they are far more free than ever? Could somebody have that sudden realization?
Can they come to the realization that they're just dust in the wind?
That there's no reason for any of this, and therefore they have ultimate freedom?
Totally. Sure.
Okay. So does that mean that it's true?
Not necessarily, but it also depends. I mean, can someone have an epiphany that they are dust in the wind,
and that none of this has any reason for being this way? That there's no reason for any of it? Can somebody have that epiphany?
I guess I would say that that's not. In a hypothetical, anyone can have anything. So
right. So in that hypothetical, clearly, the epiphany is not related, at least in your view, it's not related to the truth of the epiphany. It's not related to it being true at all.
Sure.
Because there is reason in your view. And so similarly, your realization that there is your epiphany that there is that the creator of all of this loves you regardless, that doesn't have to be intrinsically linked to it being true that there's a creator who loves you regardless.
Sure, that's
so
fine.
What I'm trying to demonstrate is that epiphanies are not necessarily related to the reality. Right. But the question was, could you have that epiphany without the underlying cause being present? And if that's the case, then that means that the epiphany is not a particularly good reason.
Okay, but are you asking for proof? Because you're the one who is saying that you can't prove things.
I'm asking for reasons where the reasons are tied to reality.
Listen carefully. The reason, I believe, is because of the experience of being loved by God. Right. That is the reason.
I understand
Now you can dismantle that with an argument, but you're asking for a reason. That is the reason.
Right. And the reason why I was asking for a reason, in the same way that like there's a reason why I believe the sun exists, is because if the sun didn't exist, then my experience would be different. Right. But it seems like that whether or not God exists, your experience could very well be the same.
Okay.
In fact, it happens all the time.
How do you? But again, like when you're using your analogies, you're slipping in so many precepts and assumptions that a lot of people don't, like, for instance, you're saying if the sun didn't exist. Well, if the sun didn't exist, you wouldn't know what the sun is. So how do you even know that?
Well, no, like what if it just like disappeared, right? If it just disappeared tomorrow or something.
Again, it's you're very slippery with your precepts that you put into all of your anecdotes and your examples. You ask for a reason, but then you want to dismantle the reason, and then you say, "Why give a reason?" It's like, what are you
calling me
talking
slippery?
about?
You're calling me slippery. It just sounds like you're slipping.
I'm not slipping. I don't
Then why
think
are you
you're
calling
as
me slippery?
consistent. I don't think you're as consistent as you think you are.
Okay, where's the inconsistency?
With all the precepts that you're operating under, as far as what the divine is, how somebody experiences it. I mean, you're setting up circumstances where somebody needs to give an explanation or a reason, and then for some reason you turn the conversation into dismantling a reason by saying, well, that's not a good explanation or proof, and then saying, well, we're not talking about proof. You've been doing it this whole time. It's like, what is the purpose of the channel?
Maybe look, the point that I was illustrating at the very beginning of the conversation is that, like, when we have beliefs, we want those beliefs, at least I do, I don't know about you, we want those beliefs to in some way be connected with reality, right?
No,
otherwise
they don't have to be. And what do you mean by connected with reality, I guess?
As in there is some feature of reality that your belief is about, right?
Give me an example.
Like the sun. I have a belief about the sun that it's like, you know, that it's, you know, a thing that the earth is getting light from. I have a belief about that. And that belief is specifically about an object that exists and or that could exist or could not exist. And so it's not just like a belief about nothing.
Then I would say no.
It's about something, right? And that belief can either be true or false.
You want some sort of equation to be able to.
No.
Yeah, you want some sort of equation to everything.
No, I don't. I don't care for an equation. I don't care for an equation. I just want some sort of connection.
It seems like you seem like a hyper.
I just want a connection. Like, look, I can give you a historical example.
I don't know.
I can give you a historical example. Look, I have a belief about like George Washington having, you know, or I have a belief about Thomas Jefferson having sex with his slaves, right? Like, this is a thing that like I have a belief about. And why do I have a belief about it? Well, because, you know, I was taught this in school, and they showed me all of the people who are, you know, who also have African descent, who also have Thomas Jefferson's DNA. And so like there's a connection between like some real thing in the world and that belief. The real thing in the world is like the DNA of all of Thomas Jefferson's descendants. And the belief is that Thomas Jefferson slept with his slaves, or raped them more likely. And so like there's like there's like an explicit connection between those two things.
Okay, but how do you?
That's what I mean.
So I mean, we'll play. Okay, so again, yeah, you're more of like, if you can't see it, then it's not real type guy. What is that called?
No, I mean, there's things that
you're
you can.
You're a
there are things that you
hyper-physicalist,
can't.
hyper.
Okay, cool. We're mind reading. There are things that are real that you can't see. Plenty of things. Like we can't see air, but we can infer. We can form beliefs about air using facts about the world. In fact, we don't even have to be talking about facts about the world. We can be talking about like numbers. Like for example, I could say that like, you know, there are no, or I could say that there is no. What would be a good example? There is no whole number that squares to 48. And the way that I can come to this belief is by checking all of the whole numbers and seeing if any of them square to 48. So there's like a connection between the belief and the things that I can examine, like examine explicitly, or like, you know, examine critically with a lens towards deriving truth. There's a way that I could be wrong.
Right. Yeah. I'm. What is this? I'm trying to think of empiricism. Is that the word I'm thinking of?
No. What I'm asking for is falsifiability.
Falsifiability.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's kind of empiricism, is it not?
No, empiricism is the idea that all knowledge comes from the external world. I don't think that that's true.
Really?
Really.
Okay. So let me ask you this. Do you know that yesterday existed?
I have a memory of yesterday existing, and I have a belief that yesterday exists.
Okay, but can you?
Depends on what you mean by no. If you mean certainty, then I'm
Yeah, I don't.
very uncertain about a lot of things, or I'm mildly uncertain about a lot of things. But if you mean
Yeah.
like, am I confident that yesterday exists? Yes.
Okay, well, I'm just, you do understand that everything you say about knowing yesterday existed can be applied to God, but yesterday existed, but you can't prove it. You'd never be able to actually prove it.
So to be clear, when I say no, I don't mean certain. I say I'm confident. Knowledge is a kind of confident belief that has other properties, like, the belief is somehow connected to the thing that it's supposed to be about. The belief is, justified in that way. That's how I use the word knowledge. That's how I use the word know. I don't mean absolutely certain.
I think I feel like there's a lot tied into the question of creationism and how you're explaining it, because I'm not really, like, when you say creationism, it kind of triggered me a little bit, because I'm like, oh God, creationists, they're the worst. I mean, you just think it's basically there is a God or isn't a God conversation for you.
No, I mean, you could think that there's a God. You could think that there's a God, but that the God didn't play a role in forming the world.
Like, what do you mean by that?
Like, the God could have been co-eternal with the universe, and instead is just like an onlooker. The God could somehow be like, in some sense, the provider of mental states, whereas the universe is the provider of physical states, and they do not overlap. Like, there's a whole bunch of different ways that you could believe in a God and still not be a creationist.
Well, I mean, if the Earth is dependent upon the God to exist, is it not him being intentional about its existence?
Well, not necessarily. For example, like my I don't know, my liver is dependent on me to exist. If I didn't exist, my liver wouldn't exist, but I don't intend to create my liver.
Okay, but man, that's that's another thing that you're slipping in there, an assumption. It's a bad analogy as to what it means to be
where does the analogy
ground
fail?
of existence.
Where does it fail?
You are not the source at which the liver has been created. You didn't produce the material for it.
Sure, but it is dependent on my existence.
Sure, totally.
And so, in the same way, one could imagine.
That's a rough analogy.
One could imagine that a universe depends on God's existence, but in a non-intentional way.
I really think you need to nail down what God is for when you're trying to take it apart.
I would love to, but you haven't told me what it is you think God is.
You never asked.
Okay, what do you think God is?
I think he is, again, so I kind of slipped it in a little bit, but I think he's, so I believe in classical theism, right? God is...
that's so much worse. Go ahead.
I believe that God is the ground of reality. He is ultimately good, has all knowledge, things like that. He can do anything that is possible. I think he is intentional. I think he is loving, personal.
This is so much worse than just the vague foundational thing. Because now it's in direct contradiction with Apollo existing, right?
No, it's not.
Okay.
Not at all.
So Apollo is the son of Zeus, right?
Okay. Yeah.
If Apollo is a god,
our theologies can contradict while both of our experiences being real experiences. But how we interpret the experience, that's a totally different thing.
But it would still be the case that Apollo wouldn't exist in your view.
No, I would say he does exist, but
in what sense?
I wouldn't call him Apollo.
In what sense does Apollo exist?
Because I too believe in the divine. Just because he's calling it Apollo and has a different theology to understanding
one of the fundamental features of Apollo is that Apollo is the son of Zeus. It's not Apollo if it's not the son of Zeus.
It is you're
Apollo is also not all powerful. Apollo is not all knowing. Apollo is not all loving. Apollo is not foundational.
But what is that? How does that?
Why does that matter? That's the gentleman's theology about the divine.
Right.
His
So
theology is his understanding of what the divine is. It
well,
does
no,
nothing
Apollo
to the
is
fact
just
that the divine
that just is what
a
Apollo
thing.
is. Like the concept Apollo points to a set of ideas about a superhuman being that has certain properties. And unless you think that superhuman being with those certain properties exists, then you don't think Apollo exists.
Yeah, you don't live in the abstract at all, do you?
I do live in the real world, that's right.
I'm telling you, I accept that the person who believes in Apollo is believing in something real.
Yeah,
He
you
has
think that they're
different
mistaken.
theology.
Yeah.
He
You think
has
that they're
not
mistaken.
even mistaken. No, he's not mistaken. This is the abstract. Somebody can believe something, not be mistaken, and not have a full view of what is there. This is why people have a hard time with old religious texts, because they want to apply some sort of hermeneutical structure that imposes their views onto what the person is writing. It's like that. No, that's not how theology works.
Yeah, so if two people's theologies
Theology
conflict,
is not science.
Obviously, if two people's theologies conflict, then one of them is wrong.
No, they have different beliefs.
They can't be mutually they can't both be mutually true if they're contradictory.
They can, dependent on how it affects the person's life.
Can it be true that that there is a god that is the son of Zeus, and also that the only god is the god that is foundational to reality itself? Can both things be true simultaneously in the same way?
To those individuals, yes.
So you think that something can be true and false in the same way at the same time?
Depending on those person's experiences within theology, yeah, totally.
Okay, so it's your view that contradictions can just be realized?
They're not contradictions just because it's paradoxical.
It's not a paradox, it's an explicit contradiction. For example, Apollo was born, so...
Not entirely.
Apollo was born.
I thought you were the one that said there's
Apollo
no
has an
such thing
age.
as objective morality. So how is it that two people can't have... I'm very confused. Like,
the category error. So
am
let me
I the
explain.
inconsistent one, or are you the
Yes.
inconsistent one?
Yes, the former. So Apollo was born, and so born means that it is there's something before it, right? If something is born, then there's something before it.
Not entirely true.
Born
Depending
typically
on
implies that
theology
something
and-
gives birth. No. I mean, I'm using born to mean that it was something gave birth to it, right? And so if something indeed gave birth to it, then it follows that indeed there was something to give birth. Whereas if something is foundational, if it is foundational to all of reality, then there is no thing that precedes it. Otherwise, the preceding thing would be foundational to all of reality. So it is not possible to simultaneously have something that is foundational to it and also be foundational to all of reality. Those things are mutually contradictory.
The thing can't manifest itself within reality.
I don't see how that addresses what I just said.
Say in an incarnation. Like Christians do this with
Right.
Jesus.
Apollo isn't just an incarnation, though. That's not the claim of the Apollo believers.
You understand the entire theological structure of...
I'm giving you a hypothetical,
somebody
so yes.
3,000 years ago believed about Apollo?
Yep, because it's a hypothetical.
Okay, well, I mean, however you want your hypotheticals answered, fine, but I was talking...
So, P1, God is the foundation to all of reality. P2, if something is the foundation to all of reality, then nothing precedes it. Conclusion, God is, or nothing precedes God. You would agree with this?
Sure.
P3, if something is born, then something precedes it. Apollo was born. Conclusion 2. Apollo is not God. Sorry, actually there's another conclusion here. Apollo has something preceding it. Conclusion 3, Apollo is not God. Do we... Oh, is it... Did I spell precedes wrong?
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, I know, but I pride myself on being a good speller. Okay, so do we agree that Apollo is not God?
I am.
Oh, this is the wrong proceeds.
I would say Apollo is not God.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay, so if somebody believes in Apollo, then they're not believing in God.
No, because they believe Apollo is God. Apollo is God.
No, they believe that Apollo is a god.
Sure. Yeah.
Right, that's different from Apollo. Look, so I'm going to call it God, and I'm going to put this in parentheses, non-sectarian heretic. This is the God that you believe in, right? Because God is sometimes a name and it's sometimes a title. So Apollo is not the God that you believe in.
Okay.
So it's just not the case that the person who believes in Apollo does not, the person who believes in Apollo, they just don't believe in the God that you believe in. One of you is wrong.
Sure. Well, I'd say not exactly. We don't have the same
Apollo,
theology.
Then that person does not believe in God. Non-sectarian heretic. P6. Actually, we can.
No.
I guess that this is actually a conclusion.
Back up. Rewind.
This is a conclusion.
Rewind.
If someone believes in Apollo, then that person does not believe in God because Apollo is not God.
Will you rewind? Let's
rewind.
Ask 2 questions ago. Ask the question that you had asked.
I don't know what question you're referring to.
Yeah, you're going too fast.
Sorry. What's the question that you want me to ask again?
I have ADHD, man. So I'm trying to. That's why I said pause. Let me get that one again. I don't call God Apollo. When I understand
they're different
God,
kinds of things.
It is different to how someone else experiences God, whether they call them Apollo or not. What that individual understands about God is what they understand about God. It can be the same God.
In this case,
it can be the same. From your paradigm and how you view the world, yes, they are. But who's to say that your paradigm is the correct way to look at the world?
I'm just trying to use logic here. I'm just trying to use deductive reasoning here.
All right, who says that logic is the right way to look at things?
Apparently not you.
I'm asking you to justify why logic works.
Oh, I don't think that's a well-formed question. I think that logic is the way that we think about things.
It is the way that we think about things?
More specifically, it is the formalization of the way that humans draw inferences.
Are you sure?
Yeah, that's my view.
Okay, just because you do it.
I mean, that's like basically every serious person who's considered logic since Aristotle.
Okay, but I'm asking you to explain your logic. How do you get
which
to
part
that
do you want me to explain? Do you want me to explain modus ponens?
So what you're saying is because smart people before me have done it, that's how I justify doing it. It's like, okay, well, what if those?
Do you want me to explain which part do you want me to explain? Like how I got to this conclusion from these premises? Because this is just the principle of substitution.
It feels like you just keep, maybe it's my ADHD medication hasn't kicked in yet, but you seem to jump around a lot to try
Which step do you want me to justify? I'm happy to justify any one of these steps.
What steps? I'm not looking at the screen.
Look at the screen. I wrote all of it down.
Immaturity. So, P1, God is the foundation of all reality. I agree. If something is the foundation of all reality, then nothing precedes it. Correct. Nothing precedes God.
Oh,
correct.
I spelled precedes wrong again.
That's all right.
Yeah.
If something is born, then something preceded it. Correct. Apollo was born. Apollo has something preceding it. Apollo is not God. I don't agree with all that because
Which part?
Do
you agree with P3? If something is born, then something precedes it.
I don't agree with. Let me pause. Let's not say anything. Let me try to really articulate my words here. Apollo was born. Apollo has something preceding it. Apollo is not God. So, and how you've structured this, I agree with it. However, there's more to it than just point 1, point 2, point 3, conclusion. That's not how theology works.
This is how
that's not how
rational people
living
come
in-
to conclusions.
Okay.
We try
Well,
to
then
use
you could
we try
say-
to use
I mean,
like we
what
try
are
to
you
use like
trying to do?
rational
Are you trying to
inferences. What I'm
Right,
trying to
I mean,
establish is that under your view, the person who believed in Apollo was believing in something that doesn't exist.
They were believing in something that I don't agree to, but that also doesn't mean that what they're believing is not real.
Well, if what they're believing,
I know that's hard to wrap your head around.
So in
but,
your
I mean,
view,
it's called living in the
what just
abstract and
happened?
mystery of it all.
Something weird just happened. Look, so in your
Am I
view,
still
it
here?
sounds like what. Yeah, no, you're fine. I was just on my end. It sounds like in your view, what you're saying is that somehow Apollo can exist, but also the god of classical theism that you believe in can exist, even though they're different things. Is that what you're saying?
Say that again. Sorry, you broke up.
If somebody believes in Apollo, sorry, it sounds like what you're saying is that it's possible for somebody to believe in Apollo, but also believe in, and in so doing, believe in the God that you believe in, because they're really their belief is really pointed at the same thing.
No.
I should add in the same way to the end, by the way.
No, I'm not.
Okay, so then in what sense could a person who believes, so let's say you're correct. Let's say that classical theism is true, right? Let's say that that is the case. It's absolutely real. We have all agreed that classical theism is true. In what sense is the person who believes in a god Apollo, who is the son of Zeus, in what sense are they correct?
Insofar as they can understand it to as far as their ability to understand it goes.
So
Like,
they're
for
understanding
instance,
it incorrectly.
Depends on what you mean by incorrect. So for instance,
They believe that Apollo is the son of Zeus.
Okay, hold the phone. Let me use that. Maybe this will help as what I'm trying to get to. For instance, ADHD. I can talk about that. I have ADHD. ADHD is a dopamine and executive function issue, right? The fact that my brain sucks out all the dopamine faster than the ability for my brain to enjoy the dopamine affects my ability to make executive function decisions. And that's why people lock in on certain things and can't pull away from it for a period of time. You ask any psychologist, they will tell you that there are circumstances in which there is no choice but to follow through with what you're locked in on until something can pull your attention from it. I have no choice in the matter. That's a genetic makeup. Even with medication and practices, I can do things to try and override it. But that's just it. My brain decides that's how it works.
I understand all of this.
Okay. There are preset conditions to, as far as my brain can go, decide and make decisions. That applies to everyone as far as to what they can understand about a said thing.
Sure, and that can still lead you to be wrong, right? And I'll give you an example. Prior to the
not
1800s
on the
or whatever.
not on the topic
Sure
of a god and their experience with it.
Sure they can. Let me give you an example. So prior to the 1800s or so.
Because you would have to be able
Please.
to understand the entire encompassing thing.
Please. So
Of what it is.
prior to the 1800s or so, it just was the case that medical practitioners, they believed that disease was caused by bad humors, right? This is fairly common, at least in Europe, right? It's hard to say about other places, but at least in Europe this was the case. Now, they could say, well, I see this growth, maybe they see like a tumor or something growing in your lymph nodes here. They see like what we would identify as what is it called? Like thyroid cancer or something maybe. They see, that growth is caused by bad humors, right? Now, they're still pointing at some shared experience between modern doctors and ancient doctors. Namely, they're pointing at we see this thing on your neck, right? I don't know how thyroid cancer works, but we see this thing on your neck, but they're still wrong that it's caused by bad humors. They're still wrong about that, even if the source of their belief comes from something that's real. So in this case, under your worldview, the person who believes in Apollo is their perceptions, their experiences, they come from the one true God of classical theism, but they're wrong about what they diagnose it to be.
I get what you're saying. That makes sense. But to an extent, if that's as far as that person can go with the information they have, were they in fact wrong?
Yes. Ancient physicians were wrong about humors causing disease, just like how ancient Greeks were wrong about Apollo being a god who's the son of Zeus. Both things, they're wrong in the same way, actually.
I understand what you're saying. It just seems like it's really unfortunate to see reality that way.
It's unfortunate to recognize that people can be wrong.
It just comes off as highly judgmental.
It's not judgmental to recognize that people can be wrong about things.
And it's an extent.
It's just reality. Like, people can be wrong about things. Okay, let's say that somebody has like
it's
a learning disability.
Is what it is.
Let's say that somebody has a learning disability, so they struggle to they struggle to do mathematics particularly well, and so they raise their hand when the teacher asks what's 2 + 2, and they say 5. Well, they're wrong. I'm sorry. Even though from their perspective they don't understand why they're wrong, even though from their perspective they don't get it, from their perspective there's nothing wrong with saying 2 + 2 = 5. That doesn't make them any less wrong.
Right, but not everything operates that way. Not everything is mathematics.
I'm not saying everything is mathematics. What I'm saying is that people can be wrong, even if they don't think they're wrong, right? That's just the reality. It's not judgmental to say that somebody is wrong when they say 2 + 2 is 5.
Right, but we're talking about people's experiences with the divine.
Yeah,
and so
and
two
their
people can have
interpretation
a
of those
different experience, and both experiences be true.
And that's not the case.
This is not mathematics.
To be clear,
this is theology and human experience.
Experiences don't have truth value. You're confused. Experiences can be interpreted, and those interpretations can have truth value, whether or not the interpretation of those experiences corresponds to something real or something true. But the experiences themselves, they're just experiences. They exist. Those experiences exist, whatever they are, whatever causes them. Those experiences exist. And so the point is that the question is not about whether the experiences exist. It's whether the interpretation of those experiences are correct. And you can be wrong about the interpret. Yeah. Okay. So we agree. The person who, under your view, the person who has some experience and says, "Aha, that means Apollo, son of Zeus, has inspired me on the battlefield." That person's wrong.
It really makes you uncomfortable for two people for me to say.
That's so ironic.
I can accept. I'm asking, does it make you uncomfortable for me to say that? I think he can say that and be completely right.
It doesn't make me uncomfortable. It doesn't make me uncomfortable. It's just like, it seems silly to me because you're just saying something that's obviously false. Like, you're just affirming a contradiction.
I don't think you like to live in the abstract of it, is what I think.
I'm a mathematician by day, physicist by night. I live in the abstract all the time. I have no problem thinking abstractly. The issue is that you seem to have no problem affirming contradictions as true.
Okay.
All right, non-sectarian. I'm sorry, that was genuinely a Freudian slip. Non-sectarian
a Freudian
heretic.
slip.
It genuinely was. I'm gonna let you go, but thanks for being here.
All right.
I promise I wasn't trying to be cute. That was actually like a genuine Freudian slip. It's funny though. All right, let's read some super chats, then we'll bring on our next guest. Oh, that's not the super chat log. From Binary Ghost with the $5. I don't look into anything. I wait for the information to be confirmed to me in my dreams. If the idea hasn't come to me in my dream, then it's invalid. Good point. That seems like a good epistemology. From Mithrander GP with the $10. Dr. Blitz, it's my birthday. Thank you for making this channel for us. Can you please tell us what TV shows you're watching, X-Men 97, or do you just read science papers all day? Thanks again. Okay, so first of all, happy birthday. I hope it's a good one. I know it's a Monday, so it can't be that great, but happy birthday. Second thing is, so I am in the middle of finishing Dr. Stone with my wife. We are also mid JoJo's Bizarre Adventures, which is really good. I regularly watch Star Trek just because I like it. At some point I need to catch up on House of the Dragon. That's on my to-watch list. And I also need to, there's something else that, I have a list of things that I need to watch that I haven't started watching yet. But yeah, I am quite fond. I love Dr. Stone. It's so good. And JoJo's also really, really good. I'm on Oh, it's been like 2 months since I watched it, so I'd have to go and look at what the like most recent thing is. But I think that they were about to get into spoilers, by the way. I think that they're about to get into the fight in Egypt, and I don't want to spoil anything more. Also, yes, DS9 is great. From Wathcast with the $2. What if God exploded and that was the Big Bang? Well, then it certainly wasn't intentional, was it? You just met Suika's voice actor? That's so wholesome. From Binary Ghost with the $5. Oh, you're a physicist? Name all the physicists and physics concepts. Oh, you can't? You're just a physics tort. I hate that. I hate that so much, but I do love it. It's very funny. From Binary Ghosts again with the $5. The explanation in the black and white video games also work. Gods are created by people who pray for divine help and are sustained and grow by belief. Well, it's hard to say that they're created, right, by that, but I can understand what you're trying to get at. From Hollow Z with the $20, thank you so much. It's very appreciated. Just thanking you for doing this show. I'm continually educated and entertained. Hopefully, I might acquire a bit of the patience you have in abundance. I don't think you acquire patience by listening to people who have patience. I think you acquire patience by practicing it. From Cherry Bomb Games with the $5. Wait, is this Apollo argument just the worst interpretation of Plato's allegory of the cave? It was sort of intended to be that way. In that I was trying to establish to him that, like, look, you can have experiences that don't point to a thing in reality, but he got stuck because he was trying to be so contrarian that he was like, no, but the person who believes in Apollo, they actually believe in the same God that I believe in. It's all real. We're all right. And so we just went on that for half an hour, which was, you know, probably a waste of time. From Shadow Slay with the $6 or with the $20, I'm sorry. Can you briefly explain what is the leading model of the universe that physicists hold to, and does it have an eternal past? What is the leading eternal past model of the universe? Okay, so I wouldn't say that there is a leading model. Like, there just isn't. But what is quite common is something called eternal inflation. Eternal inflation is just this idea that the universe is, in some sense, and I was actually kind of talking about it earlier. It's not quite this, but it's quite closely related. It actually, let me even see if it might even be in the book. And then I'll explain it in just a sec. That's an emergent universe. Eternal inflation, yeah. So the idea is, and this is just what it says in the book, eternal inflation is our observable universe is one of infinitely many bubbles in a huge, rapidly expanding quantum fuzz. And so it might be a universe with a beginning, it might not be. That is one of the most commonly held views, though. From Kale Somo Guy, so Kale Somogi with the 2 Canuck bucks. Was that all to establish Apollo is not God? Yes, it was. From his with the 729 Arab Emirate dirhams, what caused those first quantum fluctuations? I'm not sure if there were first quantum fluctuations. And from Sir Farts Way Too Much with the 10 euros, who's your favorite Star Trek captain and why is it Picard? My favorite Star Trek captain is Benjamin Lafayette Sisko, actually. And it's not Picard because Sisko was ready to commit. Sisko was a little nutty. That's why I love him. He's the most real. Also, I'm pretty sure he punched Q in the face, didn't he? Which is pretty great. So, you know. Yeah, Quantanaut, you got it. And one more from his with the 729 Arab Emirate dirhams. How does intelligence come from non-intelligence? Well, it evolves, surely. All right, let's bring up our next guest. We have a few guests in the Discord, so let's bring them up. From EV, plus EV, you are currently on the live show. How is it going, my guy?
Hey all, give me 1 second, I need to...
Yeah, sure.
Yeah, I just needed to mute the stream, sorry. Because I had to, like, why it didn't happen. All right.
What you got for me? Do you believe that the world was intentionally formed?
Arguably, yes, but it's somewhat convoluted. For me, it's downstream of the brain in a vat or simulation hypothesis.
Okay. Why would you believe either of those things?
Well, arguably, I believe it's possible that a civilization could achieve a state in which they could simulate, I guess, existence with a
right.
reasonable...
I'm not asking why you believe it could be the case. I'm asking you why you think it is the case.
Yeah, I mean, I would tell you by the preponderance of probability, as in if it is logically possible. Yep.
Oh, logically possible and physically possible are very distinct.
Yeah. Do you have any argument why it would be physically impossible?
Yeah, let me pull it up for you. This was a paper that popped up on the archive like last year. Here. Where'd it go? Come on. There we go. Yeah, so here's this paper. Oh, you can't see it. I'm sorry.
That's yeah.
Let me I will share my, can I share my screen? Is this a thing that I can do? Okay, I'm sharing my screen. Hopefully that doesn't break anything.
I can see it. It's fine. I have the stream open, so I can.
Okay. So it's called Astrophysical Constraints on the Simulation Hypothesis for This Universe, Why It Is Nearly Impossible That We Live in a Simulation. So this paper basically goes through the argument of what would be required in this universe to simulate a universe like our own, and whether or not that's physically possible. And the conclusion that they come to is that basically no, we have very strong evidence that this is impossible. Now, of course, you don't have disproof, but the point is that once we're talking about physical possibility or physical impossibility, these are empirical claims, and so we have good justification to think that it's impossible.
I mean, I haven't read the paper, so just to be sure, are they talking about simulations which use the brain as a, I guess, part of the computational agent, or they? No, this is
the simulation as described by Nick Bostrom, which is the origins for the probability argument that indeed we are living in a simulation, which is that, you know, at some point in the future it is possible that humans or the descendants of humans.
Wait, just check. Yeah, it's the one where 1 out of the 3 has to be true, right? It's going to wipe the factory right up.
Something like that.
I don't necessarily subscribe to.
I mean, like, even if you're subscribing to like just a brain in a vat, then that brain in a vat has to simulate all of the results of all of the physics experiments that we can do, and so this argument still runs through.
Why would that hold? If I'm a brain in a vat,
because otherwise you could find an inconsistency just by running experiments, or by running experiments that are not accurately simulated.
Right? On the ones that I'm aware of.
So if you ran the experiments that we know how to do, like, you know, the Large Hadron Collider, these kinds of types of experiments, you know, IceCube and so on, what you would find is that unless these are simulated accurately, then you would find inconsistencies. And if you found inconsistencies, that would prove that, you know, the laws of physics are not what they are. But indeed, we don't find inconsistencies, and when we do run these experiments, and so we have reason to believe that we cannot be brains in a vat, because the amount of computational power required to simulate brains in a vat in a universe like ours that is that accurate is not available within the universe.
Right, you're making the argument that I know that I've read that. I've read a paper where they argued if you go X levels deep, you eventually will encounter glitches within the simulation mechanism, right?
I've never heard that. I've never heard that argument. That seems like it's kind of not a scientific claim.
Okay, fair enough. I think it was somewhat. It doesn't matter. I'm not sure what you're saying would necessarily follow. Why would this necessarily follow? If I'm a brain in that and everything I perceive, I guess, from the external world is unreliable information to me.
Right, then you have no way to come to the conclusion about what's physically possible or what's not physically possible.
Yeah, that's irrelevant, right? Because
no, it's very relevant. If you unless you have a way to show that you know, that it's physically possible for a brain, or to simulate a universe for a brain in a vat, then it seems like that you don't have any justification for that.
Show that it's physically possible?
Yeah, or that it's within some laws of physics. Even physically possible would be sufficient, although likely is probably where you want to go. But
to be fair, even your paper suggested that it's not impossible, right? It only said we're most likely not living in.
It says nearly impossible, but yeah. So the point is I mean, like, you know, when you make empirical claims, you never come to certainty. But the point is that if you can't rely on your senses to tell you anything about the world around you, then you can't make any claims about what's physically possible or not, even whether it's likely or not. Because if you're a brain in a vat, then that undermines all of your sense data that you use to come to conclusions about the world around us, including what's physically possible.
Yeah, but it would not necessarily mean that it's impossible, right?
So my point is that any conclusions that you use to come to, or any facts about the world, any analysis that you do, any reasoning that you come to, that leads you to the conclusion that you're a brain in a vat is necessarily undermined by the conclusion itself.
Yeah, but that's not the argument I'm making, right? I'm making the argument that is logically possible.
Yeah, how did you come to that conclusion?
And that it is logically possible that such a structure could exist.
Yeah. Also, logically possible means nothing. It's logically possible that, like, you know, it's logically possible that you will just disappear, right? In like 2 seconds.
To be fair, without arguing semantics, I'm going to say tangibly yes, I guess. But the point being, you asked me why I believe it, right? And my argument, and all I'm trying to show, probably, at least in the first step, is that it is a consistent.
So logical possibility is fine, but logical possibility doesn't get you to anything about the real world, right? At best, you might want metaphysical possibility, namely some way the world could be, even if it's not actually that way.
Just to, what do you mean by the real world in that stance?
Just whatever actually exists.
So in that case, if I believe brain in a vat, it would be the brain itself and the vat itself, but nothing I'm experiencing, correct?
Yeah. Logically possible doesn't tell you anything about what actually exists in the world, right?
Yeah, I'm not making any claims of this, right?
Okay. So then, how does this get you to the conclusion that, you know, it could be the case that you are indeed a brain in a vat?
Just out of curiosity, if you were to believe that you would be a brain in a vat, would you believe that creationism follows necessarily?
No, I wouldn't be able to come. I wouldn't be able to come to any beliefs about the world, actually.
Sure.
Well, okay. I mean, I could come to beliefs, but those beliefs wouldn't be justified at all. So I couldn't come to any justified beliefs.
In the sense of correspondence theory, or in what sense?
Just that there is some connection between the belief and the thing that caused the belief. I'm not talking about truth. I'm talking about belief.
Yeah. No, it's fine. Fair enough. Depends on what you mean by belief in that case, but yeah, sure, fair.
Just an attitude towards a proposition.
I can have an attitude towards the proposition that there's no married bachelor.
Yeah, you can. You can. Beliefs can be wrong. Beliefs can be right.
Yeah, but do I need for such a thing? Do I need the real world?
Probably not. Well, actually, yeah, no. I guess you do. I guess you need bachelors to exist, right? And marriage to exist. These have to be things. Otherwise, you can't say there exists married bachelors, or otherwise you can't say that there exists married bachelors, or there do not exist married bachelors. Probably. I mean,
yes,
but so if you're talking about,
I know, but it's Wittgenstein, yeah.
If you're talking about like analytic truths, then maybe it doesn't. Maybe you can derive analytic truths without any connection with the real world. Although I would say that those probably aren't truths any more than they are like word games. But that's a debate about whether or not propositions exist, and that's a separate conversation. But like when we're talking about whether you're a brain in a vat, we're not talking about analytic truths, right? We're talking about some fact of the world.
What do you mean by that?
Well, if you are a brain in a vat, that means that in the actual world, then you are just a brain hooked up to a machine, right? That's like the actual reality of the world that we live in, or the world that you live in. I might not even exist in this world. And so that's not an analytic truth. That is a synthetic truth, if you will. Well, it's not even. It would be synthetic. It would. Yeah, the proposition is not analytically true, I should say.
Yeah. It's not
So setting aside those propositions that you can have beliefs about that follow analytically, we could say that a justified belief is going to be a belief that is somehow where the belief is somehow connected to the belief forming mechanism, or the thing that allowed you to form the belief. Yeah. So maybe I'll just give an example just to kind of clarify what I'm talking about. When I say that I have a justified belief that it's that it's sunny out, what that means is that like I can see outside and it is sunny. And so like I could be mistaken about that. Maybe I'm hallucinating my beliefs. Maybe it's not actually sunny and I'm just like going blind or something. But the point is there's still a connection at least between the belief that I have and some apparent fact about the world, right?
To be fair, I don't want to be soft or anything, but I would obviously contest that your senses would not necessarily be reliable. Right?
They don't have to be reliable as long as, but my point is that they can be connected to the beliefs, right?
Yeah,
like there is still a connection there, even if the origin, even if like, you know, you have A is connected to B, the senses are connected to belief forming mechanisms. Even if A is unreliable, that connection still exists.
Mm-hmm.
And the point is that if you come to a belief that leads you to the conclusion, or if you form a belief that is that you are a brain in a vat, then that means that, again, aside from analytic truths perhaps, whatever mechanism you use to come to that belief is going to be unreliable. It's unjustified because there is no sense data. There is no world that you have access to.
Yeah, but I don't need to. I mean, arguably,
so then you can never
know,
form the justified belief.
No, you're trying to show. No, I know that you try to show that there's a self-defeating part of the argument, which is I can't remember the name of the dude who also put it forth. Something with P. I can't remember the name anymore. But from what I can recall, and it's been a couple of years since I've actually read up on that. I believe that there are versions of the brain in the vat argument which do address that and which don't actually.
How can you come to true beliefs about not true beliefs, because whether something's true or not is a different question. How can you come to justified beliefs if you can't trust any of your senses?
It depends on what my epistemological theory of justification would be, right? I mean, you probably subscribe to correspondent theory. I don't need to subscribe to correspondent theory.
Okay, what do you subscribe to?
To a stance-dependent theory.
A stance-dependent theory of truth? Because, to be clear, I was talking about justification, not a theory of truth. Correspondence is usually considered a theory of truth.
True. Yeah. Something's true corresponds to the real world.
Right, but I'm just talking about justification.
Yeah. I actually can't recall anymore. It's been too long that I've actually done philosophy. So I'm going to give you a layman answer. I can't give you a formal answer, unfortunately.
That's fine.
I would very probably currently, or it is probably some intuitive Bayesian process that's going on, I would argue, but I'm not. Yeah, that's. I'm not. But sure if I can necessarily find out.
That's fine. I'm fine with Bayesian reasoning, but the point is if you want to talk about the way that things actually are, it's not like Bayesian. Your Bayesian priors should not be based on what's logically possible, right? Logically possible doesn't inform that your Bayesian priors should be non-zero. Logical possibility is not enough.
Well, yes, obviously it's not enough, but that's not a question, right?
No. So if it's
unlikely.
If your Bayesian priors are zero, it doesn't matter what evidence you have that your model predicts. Then your Bayesian, then your posteriors will be zero.
Why would it be zero?
If your prior is zero, then your posterior is zero. Because Bayesian probability is evaluated multiplicatively.
Yeah, but I asked you why my prior is zero.
Well, what I'm saying is that. Oh, let me clarify. If I'm correct in understanding what you're saying, oh, well, it's logically possible. Therefore, I have a reason to assign a Bayesian prior of a non-zero Bayesian prior. I don't think that I don't think that logical possibility is enough to get you to a non-zero Bayesian prior.
Why?
Because logical possibility doesn't really say anything about the way the world actually is. You need a little bit more than that.
I'm not sure if I agree. Wait, just a super duper quick checking question. Do you believe logic is real in the sense how a more realist would believe that?
No, I don't.
Okay. Do you believe moral?
No.
Morality is real? Okay.
No.
So you also reject the epistemic realist arguments, correct?
I'm a nominalist in basically all regards, if that helps.
Yeah, for me it's the exact opposite, right? So I believe because of the compensing guilt argument that from epistemic norms, you derive moral norms, or moral realism to be precise, and that logic is basically entailed, or that logical realism is entailed from that process. So as a result,
yeah, I mean, there's probably a much deeper conversation to be had here, which we probably don't have time for, and it's probably not worth going into. But
I don't think I'm equipped to have that discussion, to be fair. I feel like I would have to go back to
that's fine.
Do a whole host of reading. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I guess. Yeah, go ahead.
If you were to grant that logical realism would be true and moral realism would be true and so on and so forth, do you actually think or believe there's an actual contradiction here?
In logical realism being true?
No, if you grant the premise that logical realism is true, moral realism is true.
Moral realism is true, then do I think that there is a... Sorry, what's the question?
Does a logical contradiction then actually follow if you believe that your Bayesian prior should be greater than 0?
I'm not saying there's a logical contradiction, even if you're an anti-realist about these things. What I'm saying is that this is like a silly thing to do. It's a silly thing to say that just because something is logically possible under some modality of, or under some realist or even non-realist view about logic, logical possibility doesn't get you at all anywhere close to metaphysical possibility or perhaps physical possibility.
That's not the argument I've put forth. That's not the argument I put forth. I put forth that it's logically possible, and that I would have put forth the argument if it is logically possible, and if you have enough, I guess.
So
what we would consider.
Yeah, go ahead. Sorry, go ahead.
Oh wait, maybe if you already know what I'm going to say, you can tell me what my argument
okay. So it sounds like what you're saying is that if we take that logic is like, if we're realist about logic and realist about morality, and we take that it's logically possible that we're brains in vat, does it therefore follow that it is reasonable, or it's at least like perhaps or that it's reasonable to think that we could actually be brains in vats? Is that roughly what you're saying?
No.
Okay, clarify, please.
I mean, basically what you're saying is more encompassing. The first part, or the thing that I believe that we've argued over for the longest time, is whether or not, or why I would have sufficient, I guess, belief or evidence, whatever you want to call it in that case, that a brain in a vat is a likely-ish scenario that such a thing would even exist.
Okay, so how are you? Wait a minute. Did you just say that you don't think that it's possible to come to a likelihood conclusion about being a brain in a vat?
No. I said that is the thing that we've argued over for the longest time, right?
So,
and that the argument I would put forth would be related to that.
Okay, I don't see how you get to it's likely. Even if we grant that it's logically possible and that logic is that we're realist about logic and morality, I don't get how we get to it being likely.
But I think the actual disconnect here is that you would argue it's physically impossible. That a civilization could just simulate billions of civilizations, I guess. And if I would argue, well, it is for whatever miraculous reason, and we can argue over whatever that means in a moment, it is possible. Then I would argue it is maybe likely or likelier that you are in one of the simulations than you're not in one of the simulations. Which brings you back to the argument.
So you're saying, okay, so
on the paper where you have these 3 stances, where one of them is probably likely, and that I don't necessarily subscribe to the argument that's put forth within the paper, i.e., why we're not in the post-human whatever.
Yeah. So I mean, so that you should look at the paper. It's at least interesting, right? But the point is that the probability that I would say, the probability that I would assign to it being, possible, physically possible, to simulate the brains in the vats, would be far smaller than the number of brains of vats that they could possibly make, if it were possible.
Wait, could you repeat that?
Yeah, I mean, so setting aside self-defeat arguments, which I think that are probably killers for any sort of solipsism, but setting aside self-defeat arguments. No, okay, I'm sorry.
I didn't make any solipsist arguments.
So hold on. So let me be super clear here. There's kind of 2 kinds of simulations that we're perhaps equivocating on, and not intentionally, of course. But there's the simulation where you simulate the whole world, right? And people in the simulation are just they're just NPCs that maybe have a strong AI behind them or something like that, right? That's one idea of the simulation. This is like the ancestor simulation that Bostrom put forward originally. Then there's the second idea, which it sounded like you were rejecting the first idea, and rather you're saying, oh, well, maybe you're just a brain in a vat, and then, you know, all of that other stuff is just simulated input to your brain. There's not actually like a world that's being simulated at all. Is that a correct understanding of your view?
Yeah, it's more or less yes.
Because the second one is very, very close to solipsism. That like nobody else exists except you, and perhaps the people who made the simulation.
I mean, necessarily speaking, something else. If that were to be true, right, something else would have to exist. In a way.
Yeah. So it's you plus, but the point is that in this view, I don't exist, right? You're the only one who exists at this level.
I wouldn't know that. I would neither confirm nor deny in that sense. I would not have any.
So if I do exist, as more than just input to your brain, or whatever it is, then that becomes much more close to the first case where we're all just getting where the actual world exists, and you know we're just NPCs in that actual world.
To be fair, you're imposing a physicalist view that I don't necessarily need to hold, right? I could just as well argue that it's mind-body dualism within brain and the vat, and it's still possible.
How does that help you here?
Because if there is such a thing as a mind-body dualism, rather not you are also a brain and vat or not, doesn't mean you're an simulated NPC, right? You're still a real entity within whatever that world may be or may not be, and you might just as well be in a different vat or whatever it might be.
Well, yeah. So like, look, and that's fine. What I'm suggesting is compatible with just like having 8 billion humans that are a bunch of brains in vats, right? And they're just like talking to each other with like input, feeding stuff between them, right? But that's the same thing as just simulating a whole world. It's the same thing.
It depends on what is entails here. I'm happy to tacitly grant that, depending on how.
My point is like if you're simulating all the like, as far as we're concerned, the point is that the inputs for all of the 8 billion humans, that like if you can simulate that, then you can simulate our world, right? But the point is that you can't simulate that.
Why would they
at least that's what this paper makes. That's the case that this paper makes.
Wait, but you just told me that if they're brain in vats, right, then they're not simulating that case. They have logical reasoning faculties, whatever it might be. But
if their brains in vats? Well, yeah. So I'm setting aside the self-defeat arguments for a minute. I'm just talking about like the physical possibility at this point.
Okay, sure. I mean, to be fair, on the side of physical possibility or impossibility in that case, I would have to take a solipsistic position in a similar way how you would have to take a solipsistic position regarding your fundamental axiomatic beliefs, right?
Well, I don't know if it's solipsistic, but sure, I guess.
Can you justify any of your fundamental axiomatic beliefs?
It depends. It depends on what horn of Agrippa's trilemma you're willing to take. Honestly, I'm probably fine with any of them. I think that you can probably justify, rational inference using, something like some sort of difference argument. You could probably justify you could also justify rational inference using some sort of infinite chain of, like that's the easiest one to do, but a lot of people don't like that. You could also use coherentism.
How would you do this if you, how do you do this if you reject logical realism?
You just understand that logic is merely a formalization of the way that humans think, or that people think, agents think.
How can you formalize your thinking without any a priori prior axiomatic beliefs?
The formalization is the formation of axioms. That's what formalization does.
Yeah, how can you do this without any prior beliefs?
Sorry, how can I what?
Any axioms? How can you do this without any pre-assumed?
How can you form axioms without axioms?
Yeah.
Axioms are just propositions that you assert in some sense.
To believe, correct?
Well, yeah, usually. I mean, like, depends on whether or not you're kind of taking like a step back, or whether you're actually like holding these as like foundational axioms. But yeah.
You're going to tell me that you're going to formalize them using logic, and then at least in logic most of the time, if you have any
No.
false
The point is if you're trying to formalize what, like, the way that humans think, what you're doing is you're making observations about how people think. Maybe you're doing some introspection, maybe you're talking with other people, whatever it is, and then you're essentially trying to collate.
I get of this, but you can't do any of this without your presupposed axiom. To be fair, I don't.
That doesn't follow.
I don't want to make this like. Wait, I don't want to close up into a huge snore discussion. To be fair, at least to me, it seems like the way how I'm solipsistic about some things is the same way or is a similar way. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I need to take more introspection when it comes to that. And to be fair, I don't live my life as if I'm a brain of that, obviously. But it seems like to me that the solipsism I take is very similar to the way how almost all philosophers would justify their axiomatic beliefs.
So holding if you're a foundationalist where you just have like some foundational axiom, that's not solipsistic. If you're a foundationalist, you don't think that they need justification.
What would stop me from just doing the same thing and just having a different axiom that I'm a brain?
You could. Then we wouldn't have a whole lot to talk about, though. Generally, if you want to have a conversation with somebody, you need some sort of common ground, if you will. But look, it seems like a lot of the argument here has been for. We can actually just take a step back. So suppose for a moment that indeed, let's just grant that it's possible and perhaps even likely that I and you are brains and bats. Now, does that mean that the world is created? I don't think so. The world doesn't mean Earth, right? The world doesn't mean like our local patch of observable reality. The world means all of the physical, all of the stuff that physically exists, right? And so even if we're a brain in a vat, it doesn't imply that okay, yeah, go ahead.
I get the argument. Your argument, basically, your argument is that you have some recursion, and at the end of the recursion, there has to be something else that's not a simulation.
Presumably.
And that's to be fair. I'm sympathetic to the argument. I'm also not necessarily super strongly holding or believing, or not. Let me put it away. I'm not super duper married to the idea that there's a brain in a vat thing that will not eventually collapse. I'm just not convinced necessarily that whatever is there has to be a physical-ish structure. Instead, if I would believe that, I would be a physicalist, and I would believe that my entire mind, or whatever my mind-ish is.
Well, I mean, maybe we can just call it here. It's just really not clear to me what a simulation is if it's not like a physical thing, like doing a computation.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, well,
that's a fair point.
Fair enough. Evie, I'm going to let you go because we've probably reached a good stopping point, but thank you for being here. I do appreciate it.
Yeah. Bye-bye.
Take care. Oh, he left on his own. All right, we have some other guests in the guest box. Let's bring them up, but let's read some super chats first. You guys have been very generous. Thank you so much, by the way. Hello, I wanted to ask about if you and Ian disagree on morality. I'm guessing that you think it's a categorical error to classify it as objective. Ian is slowly coming to the ways of the nominalist. Ian will get there eventually, but give him time. From OS with the 20 Czech crowns, thank you for educating me and for mentioning JoJo. Of course, and thank you for sending me 20 Czech crowns. Same with you, Parasitic Human, for the 50. For Shadow Slay with the $5, are there any working models of the universe with an infinite past, and would time, energy, and matter have always existed? Yeah, there's tons. There's like 18 in this book alone. From Pensive with the $20, just saying praise the lava lamp. Indeed. Click clack, lava lamp. That's the sign. I don't know why that's the sign of the lava lamp, except that crabs are funny. And then with the £5 from Matt Lloyd, heading off. Thanks again, Dr. Blitz, for the insightful discussions and for reigniting my interest in physics again. Well, I'm glad I could do that. Glad I could do that for you. All right, let's bring up Vito Serrano. Vito Serrano. Vito. Okay. Let's talk to Gabriel M. Smith. I feel like I've spoken with Gabriel M. Smith before, but I don't remember them. Gabriel M. Smith, how's it going?
Oh, what's going on? I'm driving. I thought I had more time.
It's okay. Come back another time.
Can you hear me?
I can, but you're not allowed to be up here driving. Let's talk to Vitor Serrano again. Vitor Serrano.
Hello, hello.
I believe we've spoken before.
Yeah. Yes,
okay.
a couple of days ago.
Okay. Why do you think that the world was created? When you're off the app, I can't hear you.
To me now?
I can hear you now. Yep. I can hear you.
Okay.
Oh, there's some echo.
My battery in the phone is very low by now. I've been listening to your live for a couple of hours now. And that's why.
Okay. Well, why do you think that the world was created? With intention, perhaps.
Okay. There are two different ways that I can respond to that.
Please.
One is my personal experiences, okay, with God. The other is what I hear the scientists and the thinkers and mathematicians also say about the probability of the existence of the universe and of life itself.
Yeah, okay.
So,
I can't talk to you about your own experiences. Your own experiences are what they are. Why should I think that, like, what is the scientific and mathematical and thoughtful pieces of data that you've used to come to this conclusion?
So I know that there are different views in the scientific world about this, but I do believe that there are big names, people with authority of knowledge that defend, for example, the intelligent design.
Like who?
And I believe in intelligent design.
Like who?
I go for that.
Like who?
Can you tell me you don't know?
Yeah,
you don't
I don't
know
know.
any names?
Please tell me. Please tell me the names.
Give me a second, please.
Okay.
Just a little second.
Okay.
Okay. Sorry, my phone. What the? I was playing Clash of Clans. You know Clash of Clans?
No.
Now I need to get out the name. Yeah, it's a very nice game for
free
mobile
cloud.
phones.
No, you're fine.
So let me try to get it. So Michael Behe, for example.
I have no idea who that is. Michael
Remember
Behe?
something? Michael Behe,
I don't think
Francis Collins.
So hold on. Let's do it one by one. I've never heard of Michael Behe, so I don't think that he's a big name. Francis Collins is pretty not particularly. Oh wait, are you talking about the mathematician?
Francis Collins, I think he is called the father of DNA or something like that.
Francis Collins, he discovered the genes associated with a number of diseases and led the Human Genome Project.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think
he's a seaman. He seems like he's a big deal.
Yeah, he became a Christian also. He wasn't Christian.
Okay. So how about for every name that you bring up, I can bring up a name that doesn't believe in intelligent design.
Yes,
that's a big name.
I'm telling you, there are two.
Okay, so you name Francis Collins. I name Stephen Hawking.
Stephen Hawking. Okay.
Yep. Okay. Who's next?
William Lane Craig.
He's not a scientist. He's not a scientist, and he's also not taken very seriously amongst the philosophers.
Come on, okay. You have John Lennox.
So hold on. Stop gish galloping. We're going to talk about each one, okay? William Lane Craig is not taken seriously in the philosophical literature particularly much at all.
You are kidding me.
No, I'm not.
He
apparently he doesn't really publish in serious philosophical journals. He publishes in like Christian journals, basically. Like his work doesn't stand up to criticism in like serious philosophical journals, apparently.
Lennox, for example.
Okay, Lennox is only famous because he's loud about being a creationist. He's not actually like a particularly famous or big name mathematician.
I made where is this? I'm trying to find where I have the list of names. Sorry for that. I'm trying to get it again.
I know he's listing off the Discovery Institute roster. I'm aware.
I'm sorry. This is the thing. I don't remember the names now. I was trying to see a list of names, okay, but it's not being easy for me to see how to get it. But you have names in different camps of in different how do you say fields of science. Very a lot of names.
Well,
And
fewer names are creationists in science than are non-creationists. So if we're just appealing to names, then the non-creationists win.
okay, but you can go to the highest IQ of the world, for example. 276.
Are you talking about Marilyn von Savant? Because I think that she
no,
was an
I don't know
atheist.
that name.
Oh, okay. She's
No,
the
no, no,
highest
no, no.
confirmed
I'm
IQ in the
talking
world.
about no. Yang
Yep.
Hu. Yang Hu.
Oh no, his
Yang
IQ is
Hu.
his IQ isn't confirmed.
Okay, you have Langen.
Langen's IQ isn't confirmed either.
Okay, so these guys don't worth nothing for you.
Yep, they're worth nothing.
Okay.
But Marilyn Vos Savant, by the way, is the highest confirmed IQ as far as I know. And so, like, she writes that, you know, that reason doesn't have, or life doesn't have an inherent reason. So I guess she rejects the existence of an intelligent design, for example.
Okay, so you believe there is no intelligent people that support intelligent design?
There surely are intelligent people, but definitely not the highest IQ people.
Are you sure about that?
Well, the people who have been, like, I'm pretty sure, yeah.
You are sure, but if they confirm Yang Hu and Langen, for example?
They're not going to. Because
why?
Langen already ruined it by taking the test multiple times, which is why he was able to score so well, because he took it under fake names until he got a good score. Young Hu has only taken a test that his own company designed. Or his own organization designed. It's not like an accredited test. So...
Okay. I believe you. I believe you. I'm following you.
It's just not the case.
Okay.
Also,
Okay.
and I've watched an interview with Langen. He says some of the most brain-dead stuff I've ever heard. There's no way he's the highest IQ person in the world. Like, he's so ill-informed on so many things.
So you telling me there are no credibility in any name that supports intelligent design?
I think that the only person that you named who has credibility, who allegedly supports intelligent design, was the DNA guy who's... What was his name?
Is he Phil?
What was his name?
Yeah,
Francis Collins.
whatever.
Francis Collins. Yeah. He's
Francis
probably the only credible person. And so for each credible person that you
come
bring
on,
up,
man.
I can bring up 2 credible people that hold the opposite view. So, like, it's just like, if you're just gonna bring up credible people who think that, you know, that the world is designed, I'll do the same thing, and then we'll be stuck in a
that's
forever contest.
because you are saying this name has no value. I'm telling you names, but you already
well, yeah,
saying
Francis.
they have no value.
John, what was his name? The mathematician. John
Lennox.
Lennox is not a notable mathematician. John Lennox is not a notable mathematician. William Lane Craig is not a notable philosopher.
Let's go to other
Michael
names.
Behe is not a
names.
Yeah, okay. Go to other names.
Physics or physicists or whatever you call it.
Yeah.
Adult
Yeah,
Lorenz. Have you heard about Adult Lorenz? The Brazilian guy. He died. Adult Lorenz.
I don't know what name you're saying.
You want me to spell it?
Please.
A-D-A-U-T-O.
Wait. A-D-A.
The other name is A-D-A-U-T-O.
Okay.
And next is Lorenzo. Lorenzo, it's like L-O-U-R-E-N-C with the little comma.
Yeah, I can't type that. That's fine.
O.
Okay, so this is an answer. So I googled his name, and the first thing that pops up is Answers in Genesis. So, and he doesn't have a Wikipedia page.
He was a Christian.
Well, yeah, there are lots of Christians. It doesn't make... Yeah, so he doesn't have a Wikipedia page, so he's clearly not notable.
You have also Augusto Cury. Do you know Augusto Cury? Another
No.
Brazilian guy. Okay, he made it. He is a psychiatrist.
Augusto Cury. Okay, let's see. Let's see what his Wikipedia page says.
Yeah.
He is a Brazilian.
About
Let's pull it up.
Jesus. You were talking.
Hold on. We're pulling it
earlier.
up. By the way, I've never heard of this guy, so he can't be that notable. But sure, we can look.
You are kidding me, man. You are kidding me.
Augusto
you
Cury is
don't
a
know
Brazilian
everything.
physician, psychiatrist, psychotherapist, and writer. He developed the multifocal theory about the functioning of mind and the construction process of thought. His books have sold over 30 million copies in his country and is Brazil's most read author. Okay, so he's like an author. Okay. He's a researcher in the field of quality of life and development of intelligence, addressing the nature, construction, and dynamics of emotions and thought. He develops researches in Spain and in educational sciences in the area of quality of life, published in more than 40 countries. He lectured at BYU. Interesting that he's only lectured at BYU, but that's funny. And he's a member of this. Okay, so he seems like he's... oh, he doesn't have a very long description of his stuff. And he has a... Okay, so he has a pretty long... Oh... Okay, no, he seems like he has a pretty long bibliography, so he might be notable. Yeah, okay, so I'll mention Albert Einstein.
Might? You are very skeptical.
I believe that he's notable in Brazil.
You're telling me this guy? Because
I've never heard of him.
The way you put things...
So I'm willing to grant it. I'm willing to grant that he's notable.
Yeah, but the way you put things is like, oh, maybe something. You menospride, you despise Christians. I don't know why.
I despise Christians? If I despise Christians, I wouldn't be bringing them up to talk to me.
The way you put things... I'm sorry, my English is not perfect. I'm not... You menospride. I don't know how to say this. Menospride. You inferiorate the names because they are Christian. The way you put things, the way you talked. The guy is like a member of this genius here in Portugal, for example. He is a cathedratical professor. But however you say, he might be something. Okay, man, come on. It's the way you talk about Christians.
I'm sorry that it's insulting to you. I'm willing to grant. No, Vitor, shut up for a second. I'm willing to grant that he's a notable person. It doesn't say anywhere on his website that he's like an intelligence designer, or on his Wikipedia article that he's an intelligence designer, but fine, let's suppose he is. I will just name Albert Einstein, who's obviously very notable and wasn't an intelligence designer. Your turn.
Okay, but Einstein, he was not also an atheist. He was not.
Well, yeah, he was. But we're not talking about whether someone's an atheist or a theist. We're talking about intelligent design.
Jesus. Okay, about this guy, Augusto Cury, you were talking earlier about Jesus, the personality of Jesus. Maybe he existed. This is something you said, kind of like this. But
yeah, I think it's likely that Jesus existed as a person. Yeah, sure.
Like, for example, like this guy Phil Collins or whatever his name is, not Phil Collins, Collins something. Okay, this guy, the Collins guy, he was not a Christian. For example, he became a Christian after science. You have Curie. He said, "I'm going to apply my theory to exploit the personality of history," and he said, "Oh, Jesus, I don't believe."
What's happening? Vitor, did you crash? Did somebody pour water on you? What just happened? You there, Vitor? Hello? Oh, his phone battery probably... And yeah, his phone battery probably ran out. That's fine. Okay, we'll let him go. Okay, well, we'll be done in just a minute, so no worries. All right, so it is 11:53. I'm hungry. I have a bunch of stuff going on today. I have a meeting in 2 hours. I still have to edit a video, and then I have another. I'm gonna be on the line this evening. I'm gonna be on the line with Erica Gutsick Gibbon, and it should be a good time. So make sure to tune in. If you're not in the Discord server, you will get an announcement about it when it's going to happen. Well, no, I'm sorry. If you're not in the Discord server, you won't get an announcement. So join the Discord server, and then you can get an announcement about when it's going to happen, and it'll be a good time for everybody involved. So, everybody, thank you so much for being here. Thank you so much for enjoying, for supporting me. We do have one more super chat, maybe some cash apps to read, and then we'll call it a day. So from Chase Teaches Physics, with the $5, you said you can name more people than him, but he named a Brazilian guy. I'll see myself. That is a good bit. You did a funny there, Chase. And from Shay with the $20 for Monday. I get that. Yeah, Monday is indeed Monday. Yeah, and so I believe, I just want to double check, make sure I didn't miss anything. Because I don't want to miss, because there's a PayPal now, which I still need to put on my website. There is, some other stuff going on. So I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Thank you guys so much for supporting. And I'll see you tonight on the line. Make sure to join the Discord server. It's discord.g/ what is it? Blitz PhD? I forgot. Yeah, /Dr. Blitz. Discord.gg/Dr. Blitz. I'll see you there.